Hello, and welcome to the first episode of The Weekly Scroll, brought to you by the Adventure Archive. This is a podcast style stream that will also hopefully end up as a podcast when we figure out how to make that happen. But it is the first episode, so don't expect it to go well. Hello, hey, Sursa. Yes, hi, Sursa Victory. This is Carl Casey. It is a dark synthwave, copyright-free mix. Um, until I figure out different music and all sorts of different stuff, because we are going to be, like I said, putting this on, hopefully on a podcast. So we got to be careful with all that. And also, hello, Jables. Good morning, Andy. L2. Hello. Hi, friends. For those who are potentially listening to this in the future, I am streaming this right now live on Twitch. So if you end up enjoying what you hear, check us out, twitch.tv/The Adventure Archive. The VODs will be there as well as YouTube. And as of today, we are officially over 100 YouTube subscribers. So hopefully we will get a better, specific URL for the Adventure Archive soon, and I will let you know that. And if you're here watching, the links are down below. But good morning. This is a podcast, as I said, or I didn't say yet, about tabletop role-playing games, in all different facets. And throughout the course of this podcast, every week, every Saturday, we will be going over. It is having a number of different segments. We will be talking about what's hot on Kickstarter, how much money I blew on Kickstarter. We'll be talking about, yay, Jay will subscribe to number 100 on YouTube. We'll be having guests on to talk about games. We'll be reading through and reviewing games. I will try to remember to be as descriptive as possible when talking about things that I can see, and if you're listening to this, you can't. We'll have guests on. A number of people in the chat I've already talked to, so we should have some interesting things happening today. Clearly, based on my shirt, which again you can't see, and based on this, which again you can't see, it says Mörk Borg. We just restarted what I believe amounts to our third arc of Mörk Borg here on the Adventure Archive. So we thought it was a great time in our first episode to discuss Mörk Borg. And later on today, our resident Mörk Borg GM, Jason, will be joining me to, at some point, to read through the book, review the book, actually give a rating to the book, and then talk about the game in general. He is a GM, me as a player, since I'm a forever DM in 5e, actually getting to play in Mörk Borg has been great. So that is kind of the plan for today. Not a whole lot of different segments. Probably talking about Mörk Borg for about 2/3 of this. As I said, a chunk of it going over like reviewing the game, and then a chunk going over, us discussing our experience with the game. And again, if you want to watch all of our past Mörk Borg games, you can check us out on YouTube, or check out our website. I will have Jason post the website in the comments, or in the description of the video once it goes up on YouTube. But for those who don't have that, the website is theadventurearchive.net. So, good morning, everybody. How's it going? Yeah, as I said, first episode, so don't expect this to go super smoothly. We'll see how it goes, though. Um, but yeah, so to get this episode started, I'll probably make the chat a little bigger on here, but it's fine. Um, we are going to enter one of the segments that I'll probably go over most weeks when we start. Um, and that is going to be Kickstart the Stream, where I talk about Kickstarter. Thank you, Jesse. He said, as someone that is starting to look at TTRPGs that are not D&D, I very much appreciate this idea. Yeah, so that's kind of... Oh no, why do you have white in the logo? Um, give me 1 second. Aha, gotcha. Fixed it. So, um, yes, that is the point. And good morning, L2. Um, of the stream. I'll go back to the big window for just a second. So and this is something that I'll talk about probably at length. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week, or I'll tangent into it many, many times. I'm just over D&D. I'm super over it. I'm okay. I mean, Tasha made D&D 5.5. It's become a bloated, um, just amalgamation of junk that I'm way past, and have gotten way more into some non D&D tabletop role playing games, many of which can fit on a single. You could have a massive book like Alien, right, or like Electric Bastion Land or something like that, or you could literally have a game that fits on a business card. Um, in the process of writing my own game with a lot of guidance from Source of Victory, um, I first of all was already really leaning heavily into tabletop role playing games that weren't D&D, and that has opened my eyes to a lot of other games as well. So we will be going over a lot of those each week, and I think what we're going to have is towards the end of the stream, I'll put up a poll about games I'm thinking about going over for the following week, and some games might even take more than 1 week to really dig through. Because like when I go through the books, what I would like to do is really dig through page by page and check out the books. And a lot of these books, I bought some recently. I have not even cracked the cover, so that the first time I see them might potentially be the first time you see them or hear about them. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Jesse. Um, this is definitely going to be fun. Um, I bought a bunch of stuff recently. For those that can't see, I have my bookshelf beside me. Um, and in addition, at some point, I will be in our Discord, opening a channel called For the Weekly Scroll, so people can suggest tabletop role playing game news that's fresh, things on Kickstarter that they've backed that I could talk about during that segment, or if I say, hey, here's a cool picture, I'll post it in Discord. You'll know where to find it. So if you find us on Twitch or find us on YouTube, there is a link to our Discord on both of those places, um, and uh, and we'll just take it forward from there. Again, for those who are eventually going to listen to this, hopefully in podcast form. So back to screen. Imagine for those listening, screen transition. Top it says kickstart the stream with like the Kickstarter logo in it and stuff. So um I have a bad habit of spending money on Kickstarter. um so we're going to look at some of that. In addition to that, if you would like to support my habit of buying too many games, you can, there's a donation bar right there that the stream can see, contribute to the TTRPG budget. All of the bits, gift subs, donations, all of those things that happen during the weekly scroll will go directly towards more tabletop role-playing games, so that I can continue to have content to show you, but it'll be quite a while before I run out. So to start, um, why don't we look at things that I have backed recently? And I'll talk about why I backed them and what levels I backed them at. And just cool stuff just in general in the TTRPG kind of like landscape, for things that are coming out. Um, so let's go to my actually backed my backed projects. Actually, I probably shouldn't throw out how much. No, I can say how much money I'm spending on stuff. Is my name? Let me give me 1 second. This is Chainsaw Man. Is my name anywhere on any of this? No, it's fine. I don't care. So this is Kickstarter. I currently have 8 active projects that I'm backing. Um, a number of them are for yeah, yeah. uh, Hottie McStud Muffin is actually my nickname in high school, Jesse, but no longer. I feel like I've moved past it. So basically, a number of things. The things that I currently have backed right now, I have 8 things. One, two, three of those are for the Mothership RPG, which is something I'd really like to go over sometime soon. Um, yeah, and unfortunately, well, I guess three. Um, some small tabletop role playing games that are coming out, like Apotheosis, and I found this thing last night called the Burst system, which is supposed to be like a very simple 2d6 system, which is similar to a system that I'm working on that I'll show you guys at some point. And back that at the PDF level. But the one I'm really, really looking at and really, really excited is called Into the Odd. I don't want to play any music off of any of this stuff because I don't know if it's copyright free for Twitch. But Into the Odd is written by Chris McDowell, and he is the same writer who did Electric Bastionland, which again is another book that I will go over at some point that I have that's big and beautiful. It's the same system as far as I can tell. Um, but basically, reading here at the top, it says, for Into the Odd, Bastion is the only city that matters in its industrial age. It sits as the smoke-shredded hub of mankind, surrounded by a world of lurking horrors and cosmic interference. The underground spreads beneath our feet, and the stars loom above. You are an explorer, braving places too far for maps and too old for records. Your expeditions touch the bizarre, wondrous, and horrific. You search for riches, but also arcana, mysterious devices with unnatural powers. And this is a remastered version of the 2014 tabletop role-playing game that revisits industrial Bastionland, giving the original Into the Odd a lavish hardback, full-color restoration with expanded content. So, and not only, here's one of the things that I'm super excited for. Not only, let me blow this up a little bit. I can do that for you guys. Not only is it written by Chris McDowell, again, of Electric Bastionland, the graphic design in it is by Johan Nohr, who did Mörk Borg. And again, we're going to talk about Mörk Borg today. If you have not seen the Mörk Borg book and the art that Johan Nohr did and the graphic design that he did, it's stunning. It's gorgeous. I'm pretty positive it won the Gold Innie that year. I believe it was 2020 for Best Design. And we will look at that today. And distributed by Free League Publishing, who is literally killing. This is an 18 plus podcast, killing the fucking game as far as tabletop role playing games are right now. Not only last year did they win the Gold Innie for Alien as Product of the Year, they won the Silver Innie for distributing Mörk Borg as Product of the Year. And on top of that, I think this year and last year they won, I think, Favorite Publisher. So Free League Publishing does Tales from the Loop, Forbidden Lands, Alien. They're doing this Into the Odd. They distribute Mörk Borg. So if you are getting into newer tabletop role-playing games that have a lot of amazing, gorgeous content that isn't D&D, you should just go check out the Free League Publishing website. And most of the content on their website, because it does ship from overseas, you can also find on Amazon. So this is one I'm incredibly excited for. I chose to back it for right now. Well, there's only two. There's two levels. That's it. A digital PDF, or a printed copy. That's it. So I definitely went with the printed copy. And yeah, again, Kickstarter.com, or just Google Kickstarter Into the Odd, and you will see what we're seeing up. This is a mock-up right here of what will be the initial, the front image. And again, anything, why would you go with a printed copy? It isn't like you're obsessed with collecting. No, not at all. I generally don't buy books. I'm gesturing towards my bookshelf. It's really hard for me not to get the printed copy most of the time. And what really sucks with that right now, just in general, is international shipping is just a nightmare. I feel bad for anybody creating Kickstarters right now from overseas that will have a big American audience. And I've seen a lot of Kickstarters go towards no international shipping and just printing it in the States, and distributing it in the States and not wanting to deal with international shipping. Because I know a number of Kickstarters that kind of started pre-pandemic and are now getting ready to deliver like creatures, and their various projects. I think they have two active right now. And they've actually had to just like request voluntarily if people want to pay a little bit extra to get the shipping sent out, because apparently the cost of a shipping, like a crate like that they put on a giant ship, um, and is has exponentially risen, like 3 to 5 times what it used to cost. That shelf is just an aspirational green screen background. Yeah, yeah. No, I wish I could show more of the shelf. I do have a picture in our Discord, but not everything fit. I actually had to take all of my box sets and put those on the ground over there because they didn't fit. But it's getting there. It's getting there. Oh, and Archive Bot just dropped my Discord link. So again, for those of you listening, there is a link to our Discord on our YouTube. And if there is a podcast somewhere, we'll try to drop a lot of those links in wherever you're listening to the podcast. Yeah, shipping is getting pricey for sure. So I feel really bad. And unfortunately, right now, English or like pounds is terrible to US dollars. So it's actually really expensive to buy those and then also pay for increased international shipping. So backing things that aren't USD right now is pricey. So it is £28 plus shipping. Um, and I don't think it says, but 28 pounds to USD is $38 plus international shipping. So because of that, it is a little bit pricey. But for something like this, again, if you've ever seen Electric Bastion Lands, it is beautiful. Into the Odd is definitely the one that's an active back to not finished project, that I'm eyeing super, super hard and can't wait to get. Jables, I did not back the Avatar role playing game. I have never watched Avatar. So it did not spark me at all. I know other people backed it. I think it'll be fun to watch people play that, especially people that have not really played a lot of other tabletop role playing games. I'm curious to see how the system will be. But yeah, just didn't do it for me. So I did not back the Avatar role-playing game. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about this morning is Into the Odd Remastered. It's gorgeous. As of 9/25, there are 25 days left to go. And it blew past its goal. I think it was funded in like the first like 2 seconds. Excuse me, not surprisingly. But with 25 days to go, it's already sitting at $82,000. I expect this to hit, probably 250K. But with Free League Publishing putting it out, and people like Johan Nohr working with it, it's not like that's going to stop the project from being done. I don't think they did a ton of stretch goals. Some really great storytelling, but definitely a show for kids. Now I go to sleep to Avatar these days. Yeah, I have no problem with Avatar. I've seen a couple of episodes. I just think I missed it when it was out, and there's just other things I'd rather watch more, so I highly doubt I'd ever get back to it. But I have no problem with Avatar. It was just not a show that I watched when it was on, so I think I missed it. Oh no, there's a bunch of stretch goals. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 7 are already unlocked. Well, actually, they're all unlocked. It's just not marked as unlocked. So there's going to be audio commentaries. There's going to be Johan Nohr making new character sheets. There's going to be alternative starting packages, 60 brand new starter packages, leaning into Bastion Land's industrial weirdness. Secrets of Hopesend, a spread of additional events and inhabitants to shake up this gloomy, salt-dried port town. Again, I'll blow this up a little bit for you guys. I know it's a little small on the screen that I'm working on. Um, Mists of the Fallen Marsh, a spread of additional locations and hooks, and Echoes of the Iron Corral, an additional spread. So basically, a lot of the stretch goals will be additional content, which is great. So yeah, so that's the first one I'm talking about this morning is Into the Odd. There are a couple of Mörk Borg adventures or things that we're talking about right now. First one is Sacrifice, which is written by oh gosh, Christian Eichhorn, and I've backed a number of his projects. He's done a really good job with a lot of things. And he puts out a project like every 6 months, which is crazy. So when you Yes, so Jesse, you just said, I love the art style from Mörk Borg so much. Yeah, Johan Nohr did such an amazing job, and so many people, especially with the supplements, do a really good job of. Oh hey, oh hey, friends. Hi. Don't know what happened there. My computer just decided to restart. Just cause. So that's fun and interesting. So good times all around. And hello, podcast. Hopefully we can chop these two audios together. Um, and just so you know why there's a break in whatever I was just saying. Again, my computer just restarted for no reason. Hi, friends. So, Jedi Mama had just dropped in. So thank you so much for being here. Don't know if you still are. But let me get myself back up and running here. Um, Yay! Thank you for doing all those shout outs, Jables. And hello, everyone. Sorry for that interruption. I appreciate you being here. Um, and I don't know why. Um, my computer keeps pulling in the wrong logo, and it's upsetting me. So, again, hello, I'm back. This is a weekly scroll. And again, hopefully we can chop this back into one audio at some point, and hopefully my computer doesn't do what it just did again. That would be really, really cool. Where was I? Yes. Jesse, you had said that you really love Mörk Borg's graphic design style. Again, for those listening, please check out Mörk Borg. Again, we're going to be talking about it here shortly. I'll bring out the PDF of the book. I'll actually bring out the book itself. And we'll go over it again. One of the things I really love about the third-party content with Mörk Borg, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about Mörk Borg in general. The content has stuck really, really well with the graphic design style of Mörk Borg itself. The bright colors, the art style of Johan Nohr, the things that really make Mörk Borg when you see the book. Most third-party content has stuck with it really, really well. And Christian Eichhorn is one of the people that I've backed numerous projects from. He's done a really good job with all of them, and this is no exception. He at this point, with the stuff that he's done, I pretty much back it sight unseen. Temple of the Kraken God was amazing. I recently got the PDF for Purgatory, which is really, really good as well. Um, and uh, and again, looking at the page, which none of you can see right now, the Kickstarter that I'm looking at is called Galgenbeck Sacrifice, a Mörk Borg adventure. There's only 4 days to go. He often does shorter campaigns, maybe like a week or two. So definitely check this out. It's blown past its goal, and again, much like the rest of his stuff, he has done some really, really beautiful, amazing things. So again, his kind of stuff is sight unseen, and I chose to back at paper. At one of the higher levels, it's called Accused Heretic. You'll have to read that yourself if you want to know what that is. But they do have a PDF which in USD is only about $11. Definitely check it out and check out some of his past content. He's done, like I said, an amazing job. Um, One of the projects I backed, no, the other Mörk Borg project I have right now is called Adventure Chapbook Volume 2. And for anyone that's followed Mörk Borg, there is a book called The 30 Days of Mörk Borg. You can get it on Exalted Funeral. You can get it in a lot of different places. But it's Chapbook 1, and this is Chapbook 2, which is a series of escapades written for Mörk Borg. So it's almost kind of like a zine quest style, just uh, series of adventures and content for Mörk Borg that the creators are putting out. I did back that at the print level. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep that because if I'm going to have number 2 in the series, I have to get number 1. And for those that haven't backed, the print version is already what did I get? I got one of the specific types of it's called blasphemer. Um, it looks like they've have a number of things already sold out as far as being able to get the rewards. But it looks like they've added more in. So again, if you like Mörk Borg and you're like another just a lot of third party content, this is for you. But Jason, we'll talk about it. A lot of third party content's coming out, and a lot of it's really good. But some of it's not for everyone. So if you're just getting a Mörk Borg, I would say definitely get the book and play that before you start backing a lot of third party content. That's my recommendation as far as Kickstarter goes. But it does look good, and I will eventually have to get a copy of the first one. I don't think they offered it at add-ons. I'll have to check on that later. So the other game that I have been really keeping my eye on, because generally I don't like tech in my games. I don't like tech in my fantasy games. I should say that in my medieval fantasy games. So games like Ravnica, or settings like Ravnica and Eberron do nothing for me. I don't like steampunk. I don't want like air elemental fueled trains on rails and stuff. If I'm doing sword and sorcery, I want grimdark sword and sorcery. I don't want gunslingers. That's just how it is. But I've been getting more and more into like the quasi kind of like space horror, or like broken down space versus like cyberpunk. Leaning a little bit more into cyberpunk lately. But one of those games that's out right now, and is actually apparently a beta, and I wasn't aware of that. It's called the Mothership RPG. And soon, and we'll talk about it probably after the Kickstarter comes out. We will talk about the Mörk Borg RPG, and we'll back that, and then I will bring out the alpha or the beta of the Mothership RPG that I have now. But there's still a lot of really, really amazing third party content, and I have a lot of it. Yeah, Green Knight. Yeah. So there's a couple things that I've backed. A couple that look really, really good. The first one is called Andromeda Module for Mothership Sci-Fi Horror RPG. And it looks stunning. One of the things I really love about it is, first of all, the Kickstarter page is beautiful. But what you can't see on the podcast now, but we're all looking at, is the adventure itself is this fold out. It's black paper with this UV reactive ink printed on it. Using an innovative folded zine layout, Andromeda is an 8-page booklet containing all the information required by the warden to run the game. The booklet then folds out to a detailed A3 map of the hub station, as well as a set of illustrated and detailed NPCs and a copy of the final transmission. So basically, hey, Jesse, thanks so much for giving a gift sub to whoever this mysterious Green Knight person is. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So basically, it's a book that can be folded out into like an A3 size paper with a large map and NPC information on the back, and you can back it at a level, since it's printed with fluorescent green ink, where you get it glows in the dark, and they'll send you a UV flashlight with some like Andromeda, like the Kickstarter kind of like, you know, stuff on it, trappings, um, and you can use a UV light to actually make that fluorescent green ink glow, and that's what really caught me. And the cost isn't actually too bad. When you actually see what the book looks like, and how it can fold out into a map, it's just super interesting. And honestly, stuff like that, Mothership is great. I'll back regardless. Yeah. I can't wait for Mothership. I love the space horror. And actually, realistically, the cost to get the PDF, the print version, and a flashlight for USD is only $21 plus shipping. Great deal in my opinion for what hopes to be a solid module that in and of itself is really cool. I think playing this in person would be gorgeous because you could actually lay the book out, and have more of like that dark space feel. And then once you flip to that map on the back of the NPCs, making it glow, I can imagine, having that kind of like space background with this, having the UV light on that, and then having some additional UV light reactive things on the table as well. So as an in-person module, this looks absolutely beautiful. And for the cost, it's not too bad. So that is, once again, that is called Andromeda. One of the other things that I'm looking at right now, there's one called Alien Armory, which looks really neat. It is a collection of biopunk weapons, armors, and equipment for the Mothership RPG, which looks really neat. It's basically just, as I said, just a list of weapon and items. And the book looks great. The art looks great. I backed that at of course, the print tier. So it again is about $20. And it still has 16 days left on it and is beyond fully funded. One of the last ones I'm looking at is one that I backed, and I backed at a high level, but I'm we'll see what happens. It is called Rain and Blood, Mothership Adventure and Antagonist Sourcebook. The tag is Space Pirates, Cults, Organ Thieves, Failed Clones, Genetic Vampires, and much more. So you know why I backed it. Cultish organ thieves and genetic vampires in space with pirates. Yeah, I'll back it. My Dirty Space themed systems can really get away with a retro and simpler design, which makes it so accessible to put out there for things like Kickstarters. That's exciting. Yeah, exactly. And it looks like the Mothership RPG allows a lot of third-party content, so there's some decent third-party content out there. And since it's not as since the graphic design of it is not as specific as Mörk Borg, you can get a wider variety of things. So it's like with Mörk Borg, one of the strengths is the graphic design, but then a lot of the third party content looks like that, which is great. But also you can get a little bit lack of variety. With a game like Mothership that clearly has a third party license as well, you can get a lot of different variety as just a general overlay. So my issue with Rain and Blood, it looks really neat. A lot of the art looks really cool. Um, and to me, it looks like the adventure itself, the book, the things that come with it seem to be well done. The art's all right. It's definitely got a theme and a vibe throughout, which looks really great. My issue is more with the creators. Um, There's some Kickstarters where people start to get a little bit of money, and I think they go overboard on over promising. So there's always a risk of under delivering. So again, my issue with that is the zine was funded at 1,500 US dollars, but he has stretch goals out to 15,000 for someone who's created. It looks like 2 projects. I don't know what the first one was, but from day one was talking about, it's a zine for Mothership, okay, which is not a super well-known game in the TTRPG community. A lot of people know it, but it's not like you could walk up to someone, an average D&D player, and be like, oh, how about Mothership? He was doing there's options for patches, bookmarks, vinyls, and in the penultimate edition, which will not stop bothering me, because I don't think that most people know that penultimate does not mean ultimate, does not mean top tier. It literally just means the one before the top tier. So calling your highest level a penultimate edition means it's not quite the best one. So it should have just been called the ultimate edition. Again, penultimate is a vocabulary word that a lot of people get wrong, trying to sound cool. But it is what it is. But if you back the penultimate edition, there's a carrying case, and you get doubles of the books, bookmarks, stickers, patches, all sorts of stuff. And for someone to create their first or second, it looks like, thing, all of these were on offer before it was even close to being funded. And basically people were asking, but then the funding, only at like a certain amount, $8,000, do all of those things come into play. So a lot of people were asking while it was being funded, when it was still not at $8,000, hey, if this doesn't hit $8,000, but we back the penultimate edition, do we not get any of the swag? And the creator was basically like, you'll get it no matter what, even if I have to pay for it myself. That, to me, is a massive red flag on a Kickstarter campaign. So, again, when you back a Kickstarter, and Kickstarter has made it much more, like, visible. And even then, a lot of people don't really understand what Kickstarter is. Kickstarter is crowdfunding. It's investments. Which means you're not guaranteed to get a product. You're investing in hopes that a product gets made, and then you get rewarded for your investment. So for the most part, if a product just fails out, you get nothing. You get nothing, and there's no recourse for you. A lot of people still think that it's a marketplace, and I see comments under failed projects being like, I paid for this, I should get this. Or people that, like I talked about earlier, creatures who now there's additional issues with something like shipping. They're basically like, I paid for the product, I want my product, I'm not giving you another dime. And once again, this is crowdfunding investments. It's crowdfunding investments. You're not guaranteed anything. You invest in a project hoping it gets completed and then get rewarded for your investment. That's how Kickstarter works. It is not a marketplace. Not a marketplace. So we did, on this project, they did hit the $8,000 mark, but for a project to say from day one, here's a bunch of extra swag, to offer that swag in a high tier, but potentially have to pay for it themselves if they don't reach a certain amount of funding, again, to me, is a massive red flag. I backed it. I had hope in it. There's still plenty of time to cancel it. I'm not positive. Jason and I, what we've been doing lately is, if one of us backs a Kickstarter, say that I want to get a Kickstarter, and it comes with a PDF and a book, we'll split the cost, and then, or not split the cost, we'll see, like, if the PDF and book is $50 and the PDF is $25, he'll give me $25. I'll back for the $50. He'll get a copy of the PDF, and we'll, throw some money towards a community copy or something like that. That way, for those that want print can get print, and those that don't. So on this top tier level, you get 2 of everything. So maybe, I'll have to say something to Jason about seeing if he wants half, or maybe if we run it, we'll do a giveaway. But to me, that's one of the things I want to talk about today, or that I've talked about now, is looking for red flags on Kickstarters. And to me, over promising early on, when you're not a massive creator already, when you haven't created like 10, 15 Kickstarter projects, to me is a massive red flag. And again, there's still plenty of time on this, and there's still plenty of time to cancel on this. But if we were getting towards the end of the project, there's 6 days to go. If we were getting towards the end of the project and we hadn't hit that $8,000 mark, I definitely would have canceled this. It looks neat. We'll see what happens with it. It's one of the ones that's kind of like on my list of maybe we'll see. And that is all that I have currently backed right now. The Apotheosis tabletop role-playing game is one that I backed. I didn't back for too high. It's $30. And it just looks like a really interesting rule set. I'm not going to go over it too deeply today. It basically says Apotheosis is I think it means TTRPG that can be used to play through any fantasy setting you choose. The focus is on perfecting game rules to maximize player and game master freedom and make the game more intense, immersive, and dynamic, regardless of if your campaign takes place in a world ruled by giants, subdimensional space ruled by immortal, love-struck vampires, or just a classic medieval adventure. Apotheosis will ensure the game is memorable. So basically, it's a system that you can use on any setting, which seems interesting. Jesse, I'm dealing with that now with the Kickstarter I backed for a company that makes dice molds. They were hoping to get rewards to us in May, and now they're like, we know it'll happen, we just don't know when. Yeah, I backed a number of projects. Most of them have come through. There's only been one or two. There's only been one that I can really think of that I put a decent amount of money in that basically took the money and ran. And what a lot of those people do is make up excuses. They don't ever come back. They'll have some stranger that none of us have heard before that's their friend say like, oh, they're like, I'm stepping in because he's got blah, 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 blah. There's one project, I'll probably rip on it at another time, not today, that did that, where basically I put a bunch of money in and was supposed to get a product, pandemic hit, poor management of money, a lot of other stuff happened, and there's no product to deliver, but those products are in stores in Europe. So instead of taking the product and sending it to the backers to make up for some of the mismanaged money, they took the product that actually did get delivered to them, didn't deliver it to backers, and put it in stores. So I know people from certain European countries that literally are like, I never got my product, but I have a game store next door and they have the product. I could go buy it right now, but I already paid X amount towards investing, for my reward. The reward exists. I'm never going to get it. So that's, you got to be really careful. It's just like any investment. Some investments are bad. I'm not saying that project was bad or will be bad. I'm saying it makes me wary of overpromising. Anyway, Apotheosis is the last one. It just seems really interesting. The book looks nice. The art looks nice. And just getting more rule sets is something that I really wanted to get. That's why I backed the Burst system, which is really simple and just PDF only. Because, as I said, I'm starting to get more into game design, especially with my mentor friend, guide, Source of Victory. The more rule sets I can get, the more I can learn about game design and the goods and bads. So that's one reason I backed the Apotheosis tabletop role-playing game. And I backed at the $30 paperback level, I think because the PDF is already $15. And the PDF plus additional modules is $21. So to get everything you can get at PDF level is at least $21. So my thought at that point was to just get all of those things with the PDF, with the print, is only $30. So for $9 extra, you get a physical book and you get the PDFs for all of it. So that's what I did there. So that is what I'm backing now. I'm going to do a quick rundown of the things I have saved, things that I've thought about backing and didn't for a number of different reasons, and then we're going to get into Mörk Borg. So probably over the next 15 minutes we'll do that. So let me look at my saved projects. Kessler's Guide to Dungeons. It's a zine-sized 5e source book about dark elves, demons, and dungeon design. It looks really cool. But again, I'm moving away from 5e. I love me some drow. I love me some demons. To me, there's 5 days left to go. It's fully funded, above and beyond. But I might back it as a PDF in the next couple of days. But a physical book is only $12. So yeah. So for those who want to back it, again, it is called Kessler's Guide to Dungeons on Kickstarter. It does look interesting. The art is actually really, really good. Um, and it's got levels up to $250 or as little as for the PDF copy, like I said, as low as $5. And then as you go up, you just get more things, credits, signed copies, creating a spell, designing a character, things like that as you go up and up and up and up and up. But the art actually, like I said, does look really good. It's kind of a little bit more, I want to say, comic book style art. A lot of line work. Um, but even like I said, just for a print copy, and if you don't want to make a spell and do all the rest of that stuff, it's $12 plus shipping. Pretty decent. I'll probably end up backing that. Um, Valda's Spire of Secrets is a massive expansion for D&D 5e. Um, and it's by Mage Hand Press. And for 5th edition third-party content, Mage Hand Press has done a really, really, really good job with a lot of stuff. The issue I have with this is just the cost and the size and the fact that I'm not really into 5e anymore. And then there's a ton of stuff. There's the book itself, which is massive. There's a starter kit, which is massive. And just to get Oh yeah, Mage Hand Press has done. They did Dark Matter. If you haven't checked out Dark Matter is like a space game that they put out years ago. It got really, really good reviews. But to get just PDFs, just a PDF of the main book, not even the starter set, is $35 just for a PDF. And honestly, to me, I know a lot of work went into it. A PDF is not worth $35 for something that I'm not into anyway. A hardcover of just the plain book, not any of the extra content at all, is $60. Too much for me to spend on a third-party 5e product. So it looks really neat. Mage Hand Press is a great publisher. If this was 2 years ago, I'd probably snatch this up in a heartbeat. But I'm definitely not going to. It's Valda's Spire of Secrets for D&D 5e. Stars Without Numbers is one that I've gone back and forth with. It is a gorgeous book. Stars Without Numbers is a sci-fi tabletop game that's been out since 2010. There's a newer sister to it called Worlds Without Numbers, and this is a reprint of Stars Without Numbers. It looks gorgeous. It's just, again, a touch expensive. So the PDF is $20. But what I would want is the book. The point is it's a reprint of the book, and the reprint of the book is $80. And you do get the PDF. You get a number of PDFs, and you get the book. But for me, I don't know if I want to spend $80 right now. I'm just kind of getting into space a little bit. This might be a little bit too much for me. I can imagine this might end up on Exalted Funeral with another reprint or something. This is one of those things. If anyone wants to donate to the Adventure Archive and to the Kickstarter fund, go ahead. And this is what I would back. But it's just a little expensive, and I'm trying to do better as far as not spending a bunch of money. There is a book called Nightfell by the creator of Toompunk. And Toompunk looks really interesting. I backed a Toompunk project before. It's kind of standard OSR fare. The problem I have with projects like this is I'm a completionist. If I back Nightfell, which looks really, really great, the concept behind it is neat too. Basically, every 90 years, the world is subject to 10 years of darkness when the shining eyes of the gods close and monsters boil forth from the depths below to devour all in their path. Humanity protects itself with armies made of the undead, of the dead, the Corpse Guard, which return to life during Nightfell and stand watch. So basically, it kind of turns the concept of apocalyptic fantasy on its head. And it's actually the dead turned into undead that protect humanity, which looks really amazing. It comes with a comic book. The only issue I have with that is you do need the Toonpunk rules to run that. You can get the book as a print on demand, which I listen. Print on demand is cool. It's just I wish they were also able to tell us how much print on demand cost from the beginning. You know what I mean? It's $8 to get the print on demand coupon to buy the book at cost. So if the book costs $10, you're spending $18, right? My issue is if I'm gonna back this, I want all of it. I don't want to just get I don't want to get just Nightfell. I want to get Nightfell. I want to get the comic book, and then I would want to get the Toonpunk bundle. So in order to get all of that, you have to do it as add-ons. The Toonpunk bundle by itself, everything included with Nightfell as a PDF and at cost, is actually relatively reasonably priced. It's only $30. But again, don't forget, you get Rogues, a Blackguard's Toonpunk, RPG hardcover, print on demand at cost. You get the Nightfell print on demand at cost, and you get Toonpunk print on demand at cost. So it's $30 plus the cost of all three books, which at minimum is another, $10 each. That's another $30, $60. Again, it's one of those things that I have saved for a reason. It'll remind me in a couple of days. Bloodstone Isle looks really neat. It is from, it's basically Pirates and Vampires. Anything vampire you're going to give me. But it's 5e. But it's from Mark Rain-Hagen, a board member. He's a co-founder of White Wolf. Anyone that knows tabletop RPGs knows White Wolf. And this looks gorgeous as far as game design goes. You get multiple books, one of which is literally just for the players, and it's as if they found the book themselves. And it's an epic tale that you create with a lot of different add-ons, a lot of different riddles, puzzles. It's more like this giant adventure experience, which seems amazing if I was still into 5e. Again, the problem for me is I would want all of it. And the total cost of all of it is over $150. I'm not going to spend that on a 5e adventure, regardless of how cool it looks. This is not one that'll end up backing. This is another one, the same issue I have with Nightfell. It's called Blackbirds. It looks amazing. It's powered by the Zweihander system, which, if you know Mörk Borg, you know we love our Zweihanders. The issue that I have with this is not that it's not beautiful, because it looks amazing. The world sounds amazing. Everything about this sounds amazing. It's a world inspired by Europe during the 100 Years' War. In Erebos, a cabal of power-hungry oligarchs has stolen godhood. Their horrific axes rent the fabric of reality, allowing corrupt magic to undermine the world's natural order. An atmosphere of lingering dead was ushered in by the recent destruction of the gods, and after slaying heaven's pantheon, the oligarchs turned their dark intentions on the very arbiters of fate. It looks amazing. The art looks gorgeous. Every part of this just screams, buy this, right? The only issue is I don't have the Zweihander system. I would need to get the Zweihander system as well. And if I buy this book, I have to get it in hardback, and I have to get all the special edition crap with it, because that's me. And that's how it works for me. So the problem with that is if you actually want to get... Oh, and they're allied with Death Saves and Norse Foundry. And for those that don't know Death Saves, it's Joe Manganiello's company. It's like D&D streetwear. There basically are dice. And the book itself is massive and gorgeous. But the rule system seems, I don't know how I feel about it. And you get a lot of extra stuff with it. But if you want to buy everything, including the Zweihander system itself, so that you have everything you need to run the game, you're looking at $275. I'm not going to spend that, and I'm not going to get Blackbirds without getting the Zweihander system. So that in and of itself is already more than I'd like to spend. This is another one of those ones. We'll see at the end. We'll see if I work some extra shifts or something. This to me just screams by the world itself. You know, evil gods have taken over. Come on, come on. Anyone that knows me knows this is for me. But I'm not backing it right now. So the one that I'd really love is Blackbirds, but I'm not spending $300 on a game that I've never played. And one or two that I might end up backing are Kessler's Guide to Dungeons and Nightfell, and get the whole Toonpunk system, maybe in all PDF, and maybe add on like the Toonpunk book as a print or something. So, um, and it looks like our special guest will be ready soon. So we'll wrap up this a little bit, take a short break to get him brought into the stream, and then we will get into Mörk Borg. But yes, L2 has said, oh wow, that's quite a bit. PDFs aren't super easy to read through as people think, even when they're interactive. I completely agree. It is not super easy to read a lengthy PDF on a computer. I don't know if it's something in our brains that just don't work the same way as like flipping a page and being able to absorb information and knowledge, but staring at a computer screen and having a like an infinite roll, like scroll, just does something where it's really difficult to settle in and actually absorb the information, absorb the knowledge in order to read it. I mean, we'll see today. I mean, when it's a little bit more interactive when you're with somebody else flipping through a book, that's a little bit easier. But again, you are completely right um, that it is. I prefer book, and that's another reason I back a lot of the books on Kickstarter. I'll use a PDF so I can run the games online, but I want the physical book to actually sit and read the book. Um, Let me make sure I actually have the Mörk Borg book downloaded from my Dropbox, so that when Jason is ready, I can have it up on screen. Official content. Excuse me. Here it is. Okay. One second. All right. So he is still just getting ready. Do we have any other questions, comments, any kind of transition period here till Jason comes in? To anything else to talk about? Again, this is our first episode, so bear with me. Yeah, so as I said before, Jason will be coming on stream. We are gonna go through Mörk Borg, rate and review Mörk Borg, and texture of it does not like the textures of the books next to it. But yes, so we will be discussing this right here very shortly, and I'll probably go to BRB in just a moment. This is Mörk Borg. If you've never seen this book, it's gorgeous. You see Mörk Borg on the side, and what's difficult to see, you can see it a little bit when the light hits it. There's actually glow in the dark writing on the side. Let's see if I can actually get it to glow and maybe get it to pick up on here. Nope, still too much light coming from the thing. Let me see. Is it glow in the dark or is it just UV reactive? We will see. But anyway, so I'm going to BRB. Stick around, and when I get back, Jason will be with me, and we will go through the Mörk Borg book. We will review and rate the book at the end, and then we will discuss Mörk Borg in general. So stick around. I'll be back. Okay, so while we are waiting for Jason, I'm actually going to pull up Mörk Borg, and just start going through it a little bit. So again, I apologize to those on podcast. Um, Watch our VOD here on Twitch or on over on YouTube. Um, we can also post some pictures in the Discord. There will be a channel here for that. Looking at, like I said, the book itself is stunning. When you look at the art and everything that's associated with it, the really cool thing about the book itself as well is that I believe, and I might be mistaken, it was originally funded on Kickstarter. I Whether it was or not, I know that they've added effects later to some other things like Mörk Borg Territory, but a number of the pages have this beautiful. Let's try to find some. Like, I don't know what's to call. Is it embossing on the page? Is that what it would be called? It's this stuff right here. When you look at the page, what I'm looking at is it's a black page, and at the top it has some silver writing that's extraordinarily reflective and just gorgeous on the page. It's much more beautiful in person. Um, but that is one of the pieces in there. And there is another one later of one of the symbols from Mörk Borg, which is a specific upside down cross on a black page. It's literally all that's on the page. But it's it's a silver, incredibly reflective embossing directly on the page in the book. And to me, those things are just absolutely stunning. Um, so what I also find interesting is that we'll get to it. In the book, there is an adventure printed in the book, and I didn't even know they could do this, but the paper on the printer of the adventure in the back is a different paper than the rest of the book. The rest of the book has this kind of like shiny matte feel paper. Um, but it's very smooth, and the paper in the back you could tell is a less treated type of paper, and it's specifically for the adventure. And I find it really interesting that a book can contain two different types of paper. You'd think that that would be a pain in the butt to make sure you're exactly getting every page right, but I guess with the embossing and things it's the same. um, but but yeah, so we're going to start talking about Mörk Borg again. I'm holding the physical book. It's beautiful. Let's kick over to the PDF, and it'll be different once Jason hops in. We'll call this RPG review page. Oh, right when Jason's getting ready, let me send him the Zoom link. I'll pull in a Zoom window with his wonderful face on it. Um, and uh, and we'll get set up here in just a moment. Hey, can you hear me? Oh, he's connecting to audio. Hello. How's it going? Good, good, good. Um, yeah, and I should probably figure out a way to get your audio onto my stuff, because that's a thing that I forgot to do. So again, chat, bear with me. This is the first time I've had Zoom on this overlay setup. So we are going to go down to
Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, window capture and then select the app. There I am. I see myself now and I see your oh, it's weird. Are you cropping? Okay, you're cropping it now. Yeah. We do this all the time. Hey. I'm great. How are you doing? So did you stay up all night and then just start the stream early? Is that what you did? Okay. Muted. Oh no. Okay. I'll talk for Ryan. Oh, just Ryan's muted. Okay.
Haha. Not muted. Did not add a mic source to this screen. Yay. We're good now though, right? I see myself talking. I see Jason talking.
Hey, you have your own
Again,
hashtag. Nice. I didn't know that.
do I have a hashtag?
Classic Ryan.
Classic Ryan.
Hashtag Classic Ryan.
L2. L2. Hey, listen, because I have not muted myself on stream in a very long time because I switched to NVIDIA Broadcast. So all the shit I do, like
Ah,
clacking on my keyboard and stuff, I don't need to mute anymore.
yep.
Um, so it's mostly Eric and Jess, I think, are the two perpetrators mostly now. We should have just put counters, mute counters for each character, each
Yeah.
player, and then just added those in.
And I never mute myself because I'm paranoid because I have my mic input because I'm running the stream plus Zoom. So I have to literally double mute if I want to mute. So I just like I've mastered the art of being quiet, I think, anyway.
Yeah, I never hear you, so you're doing a
Okay,
great
good.
job. For those that don't know, and for those on stream, this is I've already said the weekly scroll. It's the Adventure Archive, and we are here on the Adventure Archive. Maybe I didn't say this before. We run tabletop role playing games, including an Evo campaign on Wednesdays called the Dark Kingdoms. And one great thing about Jason is that when I'm DMing the game, Jason actually runs all of the stream for us. So he moves around his Roll20 window for people to see. He runs all of OBS Studio. He does all of that, so I don't have to mess with it, which is wonderful. And super helpful. So if you ever want to stream, get someone that'll run all that stuff for you if you're going to DM. I can't even begin to describe how helpful that is. Jess knows. Um, after recently running Cheese, I believe you ran all of the stream stuff for her as
Yeah, I
well,
ran
right?
cheese. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind it. It's kind of I got it down. I got it down. So
Nice.
it's not too
Yeah.
bad. The only thing is when I run Merkborg or whatever other game I'm running, I have to have two windows because I have to have a dummy player screen up. So
Right.
fog of war and everything, that's the only downside. But when I'm a player, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing. If I wasn't doing it, so Andy, I think on Mondays when we were running the Theros game, um, and Jess just dropped a bless for Jason for
A
running the
bless?
games.
All
Good job,
right.
you. Rolled a
I get a
d4
bless.
on I don't
I
know, a
guess
cup
she
of
can
coffee or
use
something.
her. Yeah,
Yeah,
she can use her or bits finally. I
So you can
have
actually use them. Yeah.
95,000 right now. So
Oh gosh, I have infinite because right now on the Adventure Archive, I think on my
yeah.
own channel I have like 80 on Melee. So, um,
So what have you been talking about? I just got up not too long
uh
ago. What's been going
mostly
on?
Kickstarter. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Have you talked
we
about
did
Into the Odd Remastered yet?
we did. That was one of the very first things I talked about and went pretty heavily
Nice.
into it. I'm very excited for Into the Odd.
Yes.
Um, it looks fantastic. And with Johan Nohr doing the art and stuff for it, I'm very 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 excited for it.
Yeah. There's
So
actually
Into
a
the Odd.
walkthrough. I don't know if you saw that, but there's the designer of the game. He has a YouTube walkthrough on the Kickstarter. It's about 20 minutes
Mhm.
long where he goes through the entire book. It's pretty cool.
I haven't
Kind of,
done that yet. I
yeah,
definitely should. I should do that at some point.
yeah,
I mean, I backed it no matter what, and I love that there's only two levels. Like, I don't like Kickstarters that have like 10 levels and a bunch of
yes,
stuff. Like, I don't want to put a spell in your game. I don't want my name as an NPC. I just want the special edition paperback. Just give me that, and we're good.
yes.
But yeah, it looks gorgeous. The price isn't too bad. So yeah, so we basically talked about all of the things that I'm currently backing, and the things that I have saved to potentially back before they go out. And then next week I'll dig through my old catalog of backed stuff and talk about some stuff that came in. And also, I think at the end I'll do a poll of potential things that I might talk about next week as the game of the week or whatever, prior to our other special guest, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I don't really know what I want to talk about next week yet. Because there's some things that I had in my mind, like Mothership, but I know that the Mothership like full non-beta Kickstarter is starting soon, so it might be
Yeah,
good to do it for that.
yeah.
Um, and
There's always Vast Grim that came out.
I could do Vast
I
Grim.
mean, that's
That's not
very
a
Mörk Borg, but yeah,
I mean,
it's
it
on
literally is
Kickstarter.
just reskinned to Mörk
Yeah,
Borg. So that's a possibility. It'd be nice to actually have the book to show off, though. But I think we do have the at least beta PDF already for
yeah,
that.
we got the PDF. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'll dig through. I was thinking maybe Knave or I even have the
Nave
Black
is
Hack
cool.
PDF. So going through some OSR stuff would be neat. But today, friends, we are going through Mörk Borg. So let me switch up. Yeah, there we go. Double Merc action. We are going to talk about Mörk Borg. So let me actually move some of these chat boxes around. And for this window, we are going to have it right there. And I can actually hit, I think it's Control L and then Control pluses. Um, and there is Mörk Borg in all its glory. So I can zoom in at all the stuff, but basically the plan right now with Jason and I, until 11:30, probably about 2 hours, for about an hour is to just dig through the book. And then I have a rating system up. I'm gonna kick over to that screen. We'll lose Jason for a second so we can talk about it. All right, again, not muted. Forgot to put mic source on this. Let me repeat it again for those that were not me, since I'm the only one that heard that. The rating system. Thank you for those mutes in the chat, Jesse. I appreciate that. The rating system is for all the ones that we're going to review going forward is it's a 5-part rating system, each worth 5 points each. There's art and style, layout and function, rule set and crunch, originality, and price. Again, each worth 5 for a total of a perfect game of 25. So we'll see what Mörk Borg does later as far as I'm concerned, and what Mörk Borg is later as far as Jason is concerned. And thank you, Jess, for the Bane. Can we get some Banes in the chat as well? So going back to a window where I have a mic source, and there's Jason again. All right, so basically, I want to basically flip through page by page, get through this entire book. There's only about Before the adventure, which we'll probably skip, what is it? Maybe 69 pages? Nice. Oh, nope, 71. I think they could
Oh
clip 2 pages
man,
out.
so
Yeah, that would have
close,
been perfect.
so far.
Um, so right off the bat, first of all, we've talked about this. The cover is gorgeous. And not the interesting thing about the book in general is the attention to detail. When you see the book in person, let me put the cover back on the screen here, and I'll make it small enough that people can see it.
I'll be your
Um,
Vanna White too. I can show
Perfect.
pages.
Um, So when you look at the cover, the art is again, this is Johan Nohr, and it's beautiful and gorgeous. But and I'm sure Jason feeling it can do this.
Oh
The
yeah,
shield, yeah,
really.
the shield on the front is shiny compared to the rest of the matte book. But not only that, it's going to be impossible to tell. But this undead minotaur on the front is actually imprinted onto the cover. It's not flat, so
It's
the outline,
debossed.
yeah,
Yes,
debossed. That's what it is.
debossed.
The outline of it is debossed, and as I said, the shield is shiny, which you can see. And so, to me, I mean, the attention to detail to that, and then the back cover as well. This is not debossed; it's just a nice matte feel to the book. Um, it's crazy the amount of detail they put in that with the debossing and stuff.
And don't
Hand
forget to
model,
talk
you
about the
should see his
spine.
headshots. Oh
Don't
yeah.
forget to
So
see
on
the
the
spine,
spine, it says Mörk
which you
Borg,
can't
but
see.
there's also another message written in there that is visible under blacklight. I wish I had a blacklight with me so we could show that.
Well, it's glow
Um,
in the dark.
is it glow in the dark or is it
Yep,
visible under blacklight?
might be both, but I definitely know it's glow in the dark. I have tested.
And it says Psalm 7 with
Yeah,
an
which
upside down
is
cross underneath
the
it
end.
between the letters.
So the
Yep.
Psalms are the miseries,
Yep.
and then yeah, on the seventh misery, everything ends.
I'm pretty positive it's just the letters on the spine, Jesse, that glow. It says PSALM
Yeah,
7 upside down cross between all the letters that say Mörk Borg on the side. But I'm pretty positive it's just the letters. Yeah, there we go.
yeah.
All right. So getting started actually going into the book. Oh, and let me I was gonna do this.
So you got to
Um
start with the inside cover, which is
oh we
very
will.
common in OSR, which is actually there's stuff in there. It's useful. Holy shit, who would have thought?
Yeah. Just
There's
a
roll
waste of
tables.
absolute space. Yeah.
Yeah, look at this. And so before you even get into any pages, we have D10 occult treasures. We have corpse plundering. We have a weather chart, traps and devilry, and even a name roll table.
Right at the beginning. And I actually, my friend the Skull, Arvant, was taken from this table, and then also we remembered that in the very first game that we ran, not on stream but for each other, Jason ran. I'm not getting into it. Um, one of
We
our fellow
should.
players here on the Adventure Archive, Matt, had a character named Arvant. So in the canon of our world, to an extent, um, I myself, in a much later point in history in Mörk Borg, have Matt Skull as my companion. So
Yeah, cool little tie-in.
yeah, it was fun. We don't need to talk about it, Jess. So yeah, as he said right off the bat, when you look at the two front covers in the book, so I'll have the PDF up here, and then you can just flip through physically if you want. So right in the front cover, the
Yeah.
cover itself and the first page, you get just a ton of roll tables, and throughout the whole book, especially at the end, you get a lot more roll tables, which again, as Jason said, is very indicative of OSR games. Um, so right from the beginning, you see all of these things: translations, proofreading, editing. This is basically just a page that talks about like the intro to the stuff, and then we have Mörk Borg, originally called Dark Fort, made by Pelle Nielsen, and text ideas and game design,
Well,
and then
fun
graphic design and
fact,
art.
that is what Mörkborg translates to in Swedish.
It's
Dark
Dark
Fort
Fort, yeah.
or Dark Castle,
They
I think.
actually have a callback to that on one of the first pages. But also, I don't know if you've looked at Stockholm Cartel lately. They have a bunch of pamphlet
Oh yeah, they do.
modules for sale right now that I had to fight very, very, very hard not to buy. Um, But Free League, which we did talk about, who is just crushing the game right now as far as just video, like game design and game publishing is concerned.
Hmm.
I believe they've won the best publisher or favorite
Yeah, they
publisher
won
2 years in a row.
fan favorite publisher. Yes. Yeah.
But on top of that, not only that, the year that this came out, the Annie Awards in 2020, Mörk Borg swept a lot of it. Actually, coming in, the only thing I think they got silver in was Product of the Year. They got silver. What came in gold that year? Guess what it was? Do you know what came in gold in 2020?
No, I don't remember.
The
What was it?
Alien
Oh,
RPG,
Alien RPG. That's right.
also put out by Free League Publishing. So they're just
Yeah,
cleaning up.
another one I'd
Um,
love to run.
I have all of it. Not only that, I have all the
Yeah,
Foundry modules too. So,
same. I don't have all the print yet, but you got me on the
oh
print. But I got all the
no, I got
Foundry.
the print, I got the
Yeah,
PDF,
of
I got the
course you
Foundry.
have
I
all the
have it
print.
all. Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. All right, so continuing through the book, again we get to one of the more intro pages, and the art is amazing. I miss the part where it says, art by Johan Nohr and Dead
Yeah,
People?
that's
No,
on
it's
the
on the very
inside.
front.
It's on the inside.
It's
So
also right on the
he
very front
also
of the
did the
page.
original translation as
Yeah.
well. So Pelle Nielsen is the primary designer writer, and then Johan Nohr did all the graphic design and
So
artwork.
Johan Nohr and Dead People did the art.
Yeah, he
Says
uses
it
a lot
right
of
there on the
public
front cover.
domain artwork and
Yeah.
then graphic designs the hell out of it. He's doing that a lot on Into the Odd Remastered, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love, and it's just so. I know you do that a lot with your graphic design stuff, or at least things that we've done on
Yeah.
stream, where you can get a piece of public design or public art, excuse me, and just manipulate it into these gorgeous images. If you look at Mörk Borg, and like the Mörk Borg layout is absolutely stunning, and I know a lot of that is images you got from I think Unsplash and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so getting into the actual book, I think it's about the first 17 pages of the book are lore basically.
Yep.
So when you straight off right from the very first, we're not going to read every single page. We'll just go through the book and talk about what's kind of on it. So the very first page, I'll read the first page. The wind from the west, from the sundered land, rot rides it, and the stench of blood. Cursed walker, will you travel there to the valley of the unfortunate undead? Our young ones are taken by the child thief Turgal, known for his vile crimes and alchemy of flesh. And one of the things, as I said, as we get through the lore, the original game Dark Fort, which I will run at some point on stream, because one of the segments I'd like to do is solo and dual RPGs. Dark Fort was a solo RPG, and right on this very first page, right at the bottom, the last couple lines, maybe it's best to surrender, to trust your own instinct and skill rather than the whim of the dice. Before all is drowned in welcome silence, life locked and failing in a dark fort. So it's a nice little
Mm. Yes.
self-referential thing. One of the things I love about this book in general is how aware the designers were of the book, Johan Nohr and Pelle Nielsen. They know exactly and ride the line perfectly of like over the top, kind of ridiculous, in like just the perfect amount. You know, they like when we talk about like Ducky, for example, on ours, Abe, what's his full name?
Abhorred denies the flesh.
Abhor denies the flesh. He rolled that he picks his nose so much it bleeds,
Yeah.
which is perfect for Mörk Borg, but in a lot of other settings would be over the top. And that's what I'm talking about with this game in general, is it rides that line of being almost too over the top, and in my opinion, hits it dead perfect for what it was trying to be.
Mhm. I feel like a lot of people translate it. We've actually gotten props on our YouTube channel for running the game in kind of more of a little bit more of a serious tone, a darker tone, because a lot of the feedback people have gotten is that people run it too gonzo. You know, so I think depending on your preferences, you know, some people they run it a little bit more zany than I think we do.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the differences, I think, between the way we run it and some other stuff too. Like for example, when we did our zero session, Or when I think it was during the zero session, a bunch of people rolled like ones for HP. So we re-rolled the ones. I'm actually gonna
Yeah,
hide.
this game. On that note, this game, it almost encourages player death.
Yep.
So when we run on stream, we have blesses and we have banes and we have omens. You guys can donate, which has helped them out immensely. They probably would have been long dead
Oh yeah.
otherwise. So that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a game too. What's strange about it, we can get once we get into the miseries and stuff, I'll talk more about it. But there's a really nice concept about miseries that kind of it makes it feel like you want to run a campaign. However, the game itself is somewhat difficult to run a campaign in because death is so, I don't know, prevalent, but I don't know.
Yeah. So it's I think what we do is a nice happy medium where I know that I think you said that you watched another podcast or watched another stream or something where
Yeah.
someone actually referenced us saying, "Can you believe like they let them roll another thing, whatever?"
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
Yeah.
because yeah, we're not running a Gonzo one shot. We're trying to
Right.
actually run a campaign for people. And, if we take the time to create these characters and they die literally the first time you run into literally anything, that's not, it just doesn't suit the stream style, the campaign style. And again, as you just talked about, we have blesses and banes and omens that chat can participate in with channel points here on Twitch and with bits, actual money to support the game. And without those, like you said, we would be long dead.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. I think we kind of thread the needle on keeping the tone of the game, but bringing it into a space where it can be run as a campaign, where we definitely fear death, very much so, but maybe have a little bit of a cushion so that we can tell a kind of a longer, more fulfilling story than potentially immediately dying and having to
Yeah.
run through like 10, 15 different characters. It's not like oh gosh, what was the name of our 1/3 shot, the with the murder menu, Afterbirth,
Oh, afterbirth. Yeah.
where we died like 15 times each. So
Yeah. And you
but
guys are running, I think that was a good actually indication of the class, and we'll get there, I'm sure. The classless system where you can be a class or you can be classless. And classless actually yields a stronger character from an ability standpoint, like ability scores and hit points,
yeah.
which I noticed.
So so all right, so moving in immediately again, as far as a podcast is concerned, it's going to be difficult to express just how well a lot of this stuff is graphically designed. Immediately hit a black page with this massive pink writing across it, which is really part of Mörk Borg. Black, pink, white, yellow. I feel are the primary colors, and it says what was written must be known, and goes into some more history, where it talks about Anuk Schleger, monk of the Cretan Order. Yeah, black with neon colors, and it just right there
And
gets me.
I think what's interesting to note from a design perspective is that this book could have been half, at least maybe a third to half the length. Because you can see here, you will never see this in the Wizards book where you have giant text taking up, dominating one side of the spread. So they really, this was like a labor of love for them. They wanted to make the book they wanted to make, not being held to the bottom line essentially.
Absolutely. And Jesse just said it's if Gothic, Renaissance, and punk had the most wonderful love child. Yeah, I would definitely call this like a neon castle punk kind of. You know what I mean?
Kind of.
With this kind of like again kind of over the top like doom metal vibe to it. If I describe it as anything, I think Gothic, Renaissance, and punk, is a way, it's a good way to do it. But castle punk and doom metal, it describes itself as like a doom metal of a game, like a
Hmm.
giant flail to the face, and it does. Like
Right there, it does. You
yeah,
can read it.
a doom metal album of a game, a spiked flail to the face, rules light, heavy, everything else. That's the best description I can imagine. Playing it as much as we have at this point, it's perfect. So getting in the book a little bit more, some of the lore of the game, there are these two-headed basilisks And the leader of which is called She, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And my character hates She because she killed my god, Nost, the god of panic, because I'm a worshiper of a dead god. So that's most of the first page is talking about the basilisks. Moving
Yeah.
on, again, it's more talking about She. When the world was but water,
Right.
dust and clouds thick with plague fat flies came She, first of the basilisks. And from the cracks, just a crack's worth of Bergen crypt, she crawled, bearing the head of denial. Yeah, and again, more of this, just black with white, bright pink, beautiful art across it. And another page that's at least 3/4 just art with a little bit of extra writing on the bottom. And
Hmm.
another thing I love about the way that Johan Nohr did the layout is it's a paragraph of text, but the paragraph of text is done as if someone had cut out each line and glued it onto the page. It's not all in a straight line. It's almost flayed out from left to right. And just that subtle difference just and there's a giant, Roman numeral 4 on it. It's all tilted a little bit. So nothing, I think very little in the book is in straight lines until you get to regular font and like roll tables and stuff.
Hmm.
So especially throughout the lore, very little of it is in straight lines. And then you move into this
The map.
just the map, which is unlike any map you're really ever going to see. It's this
Yeah.
amalgamation of kind of, again, this modern modern graphic design mixed with that classic like cut and paste OSR zine kind of thing, where it looks like it was just like, again, just this amalgamation. And the world's not big. I think there's plenty of room for more in the world, but
Yeah, there's
again,
actually in the zine they have travel rules and how many
mm,
days it takes to get from one area to the other, so you really know. And just for anyone curious, this is Graven Tosk. This is where the players started in Graves left wanting, and the Sarkash runs all around it here, and they're actually somewhere down here right now.
so we went from Graven Tosk into the Sarkesh and then worked our way out, right?
Yeah, well, so Graven Tosk is sort of in the middle of the Sarkash forest, and
Oh, okay,
then
so it's around
you
here.
guys just made your way out to the south. Yeah.
So again, we should probably just post a picture of this map in our Discord whenever we open up a channel for the weekly scroll, which I'll do today. If I remember, if I'm awake by the end of this.
Oh, that'd be a good
Um,
idea. We could like screenshot it on the fly so people could get a better idea.
yeah. I mean, it'd be easy to just drop it in. So I'll add that. Let me make a post it. Anyone that follows me, if anyone wants to post some post-its, emotes in the chat. Um, Made by the wonderful Phoenix Firestar. Yep. Because I got only like 18 of these. So let me do weekly scroll Discord channel. So again, anyone who does watch this later and watch the VODs, thank you, Jesse, for those post-it notes. Today's episode, episode number 1, you can see those if you scroll back into the Discord. And what I think would be a great idea with the pictures and stuff too is to I'll try to remember to date them. Um, like dinner and a movie.
Hmm.
But oh, and Jesse, thank you so much for reminding me in Discord as well. Um, so that when people search through the channels, they can just search by the date or by the episode title. And then they'll be able to find all the pictures as opposed to trying to scroll back for however long we do this. So moving forward from there, we move into what I think might be the first white page of the entire book. It's the story of
Yep.
Galgenbeck. And if from those that were still here when I was doing Kickstart the stream, there's a new book coming out from Christian Eichhorn that talks about Galgenbeck. Hey, Mahap, thank you so much for the follow here at the Adventure Archive. Map This Dungeon has been with me on a lot of the morning Melee streams. And she does stream as well. Can we get a shout out for Map as well? I think she was making some paper minis this morning over on her channel. So thank you, Matt, for the follow. We appreciate that. So moving on into Galgenbeck, and then talking about the Sarkash, which is what we just talked about.
And I think one thing you guys will
This,
notice, this is actually one of my complaints. I think my only complaint about Mörk Borg, but I get it. I get why they did it, and that is the lore is thin, right? There's no setting book. I mean, it's literally Sarkash is right here. This is everything they tell you about the Sarkash. Same thing with Galgenbeck up top. There's no city maps. There's nothing like that. So you are kind of left to your own devices to concoct what that is. It's cool, I think, from a standpoint, if you are a designer or you want to flesh out and homebrew your own stuff. But for people like me who don't have a ton of time, it would be nice to have some supplementary material, to kind of help you. If you need it, if you need to say, oh, I need a map of Galbagoon back or something. So I don't know if that stuff's
Yep.
coming or in the works, but who knows? That's my one complaint, I think, is that it's challenging to uh, have enough lore to really just pull from sometimes.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of the book, again, you want to feel like you're running a campaign, especially with the number of miseries you can have. But it still feels like you said, designed kind of one-shotty. And I know there's a lot of
Yep.
approved third-party content and a lot of stuff that's made on the website. We'll definitely talk about the website soon, and the amount of free content you get with this game as well is crazy. But
Hmm.
yes, Map, this book is super dope. Graphic design wise, my favorite book that I've ever owned. It's gorgeous,
Yeah, by
but
far.
like you said, the lore is thin. Like the entire thing, if you took out all the art and just wrote it, it would probably fit in like 4 pages.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but across 17 pages, you get the lore. This is one of my favorite pages in the book, and I think it's because, or the favorite spread. I If I remember correctly, it's one of the only like primarily red sets of pages in the entire book.
Yeah.
And this is talking about the Palace of the Shadow King, a Gothic black castle like a mirror to the Cathedral of the Two-Headed Basilisk in Galgenbeck. And it's actually a giant, it's this red, kind of cloudy, evil as fuck looking background with this castle spread
Yeah.
across it,
And
talking
this is
about,
actually the seed for the adventure that came with the book. So at the bottom, you can
yeah.
see the title is hereditary. Sons are always born to the Shadow King. Its whispered princes of that line disguise themselves as ordinary men wandering the ruins, engaging in games and tricking travelers, multiplying the miseries of the people. So really, the Palace of the Shadow King is kind of like the only thing really that is together is the keep in the middle, and then the town is just, or the surrounding area is just in complete ruins and just mayhem and all kinds of crazy shits going on.
And then the adventure that comes with the book that we'll get to eventually is called Rot Black Sludge, if I remember correctly, and that's what
Yep.
we ran first. Where
Yep.
I did very well for almost the entire thing.
You did till the end.
Yeah,
It
and
was a
then
fitting end though.
yeah, well, it is what it is. And then we move into another page that's a little bit different, mostly because of the scroll work on it, talking about Kyrgyz, Kyrgyz. I don't speak Swedish. But another page that's got this gorgeous, classic, like female, looks like royalty,
Yep.
just plucking the head right off this guy,
That's
with the blood
Anthelia.
squirting at the back
Yes.
like butterfly wings. Yeah.
Yeah. She's pale,
So,
she's cold, she's in her palace. In where what does it
Anthelia's
say?
ambivalence is one
Yeah.
of the heading titles. Um, that's page 13. So we're almost done with the lore section. We get into a page on the Western Kingdom called Wasteland in the songs of the simple and rhymes of the poor. Once home to the peace and wealth, when Lake Onda gifted fish and the river trade thrived. Another gorgeous page, some more art, but again, mostly art with very little filling the page itself. Which this is not a knock when I say that. I think it's fantastic that the book is longer by doing this much art, because I feel as much as the lore doesn't is thin, I feel like the art gives you a vibe to work with extremely well. All of the art and all the things, I feel like it really pulls people into this very specific mindset and very specific, like I said, vibe just in general, to run the game in. So it's definitely not a knock anytime I say
Right.
if they only filled half the page or a quarter of the page or anything like
And
that.
I think one thing to note is that this entire game, the two and two-headed basilisk, so there's he and she, they are wanting to see uh, uh, humanity just go straight into the apocalypse. So suicide or anything like that is a heretical crime. Um, so it's just a very bleak world, clearly. Where and I love the fact that in the very next page we'll talk about it, but I love the fact that the entire premise of this book is to see your characters to the end of the world, right?
Yep.
It's not less necessarily a world that is thriving that you can just have infinite campaigns in. The entire goal is to see the end of it.
Yep. And we'll talk about that when we get to talk about the miseries and the dice rolls associated with that too.
Oh, right here, yeah.
Yeah, I showed that page at the beginning. It is this beautifully, I believe that's embossing, right?
This is it's
Um,
a foil.
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 That's what I was thinking of. And it says the calendar of
Necrubel.
Necrobel.
Necrubel.
It's a skull. It's got all of that written and this like beautiful foil work on it. And it actually does right here talk about is what we were just saying actually. The miseries. It's 7 and 7. The seventh misery will always be 7 and 7. And the world finally dies. The seventh seal is broken for the seventh and final time. The game and your lives end here. Burn the book. What's interesting about some things in the book, we'll talk about them as we hit them. This says burn the book. Once you hit the seventh misery, burn the book. You can look up videos of people
Yep.
hitting the seventh misery and burning their book. There's another part where it literally says rip this page out, pin it up, and throw a knife at it. That's what you get. And I know there are people out there that ripped the page out of the book, pinned it up, and threw a knife at it until they got it. And I love that. I love that it's over the top and ridiculous, and people definitely fucking did it.
Yeah. I think my
Um,
favorite image that I've seen, I actually have it pulled up right now. I think it's called the Swedish log. It's where you set a log upright and you divide it into multiple pieces, and the book is like smack dab in the middle, just completely aflame.
yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
cool.
So it's really neat. Um, so on this, and we decided in our campaign how we were going to do this, but it says at the bottom. The rest of the page says illustrating this. The game master rolls a die each dawn. A result of one activates one misery. The die used is determined by the GM in the group. The GM then rolls D66 to determine which misery occurs. And a misery is basically this terrible, like mini apocalyptic event
Yeah.
that befalls the world. And after 7 of those, the world ends. Like this is a dying world, and that's the whole premise. So like here on like one of the last lore pages, as Jason was saying before, the premise of the entire game is to see your characters to live through these 7 miseries, and this dying world dies, and that's what the basilisks he and she want to see, and that's why he said again, suicide is heretical. They don't want you to get off the ride before it's done, and that ride ending is literally humanity and the world itself ending in the apocalypse after the 7th misery. So when will this agony end? Again, you roll every in-game day at dawn. You roll a dice, and if you choose a die that's a D100, your chance of rolling a 1 is literally 1 in 100. And that's a years of pain. If you roll for a bleak half year, which is what we did, it's a D20. So every time you roll a 1 on the dice, you get a misery. Which our very first roll was a 1 on the dice, the only misery we've run so far.
Yes.
Um, if you want a fall and anguish, you roll a d10. If you want a cruel month, you roll a d6. And if you want the end is nigh, you roll a d2, which means a
D2.
50-50 chance that every day a misery happens. So if you
Yeah.
run a shorter campaign that maybe only has like 5 to 10 sessions in it total, because every day you wake up at dawn, I don't know how many days we've gone through. I think it might be like 4 or 5 total. We would have potentially, probably three or four miseries. We'd be halfway to the end of the world already.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The campaign I'm running runs misery slightly different, so you guys will see that as it unfolds.
Yeah.
Let's just
And
say
we'll
they
talk about
happen
that.
more quickly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end as well. What the we're running in the
Okay.
campaign itself. Matt said, "Oh wow, I love that games are encouraging ripping, burning, altering materials. Reminds me of Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Betrayal at House on the Hill. Yeah, yeah.
But one thing I would like to say about the Psalms or the miseries is that they are written in a very kind of just archaic biblical fashion. So,
Oh
for
yeah.
example, the one that they rolled, actually, we got Psalm 1:1. It's the city shall be made hollow, of those who rest in hollowness, they shall not be seen. And so what that is a tool for the GM to interpret that how they see fit and change the world in that manner. So it's kind of cool. It gives you a little bit of it's like a writing prompt essentially for your campaign.
Mm. And again, there's 66 of these. So six, you roll a d66 to determine these. And as he said, it's very even the page itself, like the way that they're numbered, it's like 1:1 or 4:5.
Yeah.
So you can see like Psalm 4, 4 verse 5, you know what I mean? And then it's behold now the endless sea where Leviathan causes waves to be as mountains. So it's written out, supposed to be very, I mean, all I saw in this is the Bible when I first saw it. And of course
Yeah.
that's the point, and it's so well done. And
The
as you
nameless
said,
scriptures. Yeah.
there's no specific thing. It's so wide open to be able to
Yep.
fit into your campaign. They're great prompts. That's a great page. So after that, starting on page, I think it's 18, we actually get into the rule set.
Well, this is character
Um,
creation. Yeah. So
yeah,
again, I know Ryan, you have a rating for this, but everything you need to do to make a character is in the on the spread here. So again, even though a lot of people have criticized this book for being a little bit too, garish in design and too much, I challenge them to look deeper because look, it's right here. This is making a character. This is all you need. Um, and we'll see that as we go on. I think the only pages that really break this rule is the weapon roll table, but yeah, everything you need to make a character is right here. 2 pages.
yep, yep. In this world, there are those who seek riches or redemption. Some say the apocalypse is escapable, that it might even be stopped. And there you walk in discord and despair. One hand holds 2d6 times 10 silver. The other holds a water skin and d4 days worth of food. Your soul and your silver are your own and equally easy to lose. To begin with, you are what you own, and boom, it immediately goes into the character creation.
And this is classless, by the way. So there's multiple ways. We'll get to the classes toward the end, I think, but this is if you want to roll a classless character, which is pretty common in OSR. It's common in Knave. That's how you roll a character. So it's kind of neat because it's like I like that last line. To begin with, you are what you own, because rarely I feel like, obviously we have professions in real life, but a lot of times the roll tables for the character generation or the traits plus this stuff kind of gives you an idea of maybe what kind of character you want to play, rather than saying, oh, I want to be a fighter or I want to be a warlock or whatever. So it's pretty cool.
And then as far as 5e is concerned, I'm not a fan of rolling for stuff. I don't roll for characters. I encourage, especially newer players, not to. I don't use like 3d6 and or 46 and drop the lowest or like any of that stuff. I use standard array. I don't really. I've never rolled any part of a 5e character. I just use the roll tables I have as prompts. Completely different than OSR and especially this book, where I know we randomized every part of our character
Yeah,
except I think maybe
everything.
the
Yeah.
class. Like we
You
picked a
guys chose
class,
your classes, correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then randomize everything else. So when you look at this, it literally tells you create a player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do this, do this, do this, do this, and then there's roll tables above to tell you, what to roll on, what to roll, and everything. Um,
And I love
and
how some
then
of the on a roll table for the D6 first, it's like donkey, not bad, or one of the above of your choice, and there's a small wagon, a sack. But just some weird stuff in here. There's a bomb, a bottle of red poison, a magnesium strip. Just really odd things.
15 feet of heavy chain, exquisite perfume. I
Yeah,
think
that
didn't Jess
yeah,
roll
Nagel
exquisite
Nagel has
perfume?
that. Jess
Yeah,
has that. Yeah.
Nicholas. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she sprayed it during like didn't she do it during like Afterbirth or something with all like the
I think
the
it no, because you weren't playing your characters there. I think she did it in the Graves Left Wanting, if I
oh yeah
remember
yeah
right.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. She used
Yep.
it as lamp oil. We had a very beautiful smelling light, is what it was. Yeah. The very next page is just a picture of a giant outline of a femur.
Yeah, this is the
Um,
this is the roll table for weapons, by the way.
Yep. It's literally so the first page, it's got a femur. There's D10 weapons, D6 if you begin with a scroll, and literally number one is fills up one page. It's just a giant picture of a femur,
Yep.
and then it says number one femur, and then it's a D4. So you know that a femur is a D4 weapon. And on the very next page, you see a man, quasi Vitruvian style, not a bunch of extra arms and legs, but it's this kind of like woodcut style art. And he's just being like murdered with a bunch of weapons, arrows, spikes, swords, unarmed strikes, staffs. knife in the face, and he's just bleeding. And by each
But
of
it's a
these
roll table.
weapons, yeah, by
It's a roll
each of these
table.
weapons, it literally says number 2, hitting him in head with the staff. It says staff D4. Where's this spy hander hitting him?
Actually, you
Um,
got to turn the page. So, like I said, the weapons actually break the
oh,
rules. So you'll notice
so it's
there's a
two
number.
pages.
There's an 8, a 9. That's
Yep.
on a 1d10, right? Zweihander right here is the big guy at the bottom. So if you roll a 10,
Yeah.
you get the
And it actually
Zweihander.
says huge across the bottom. The biggest
Yeah,
thing written on there is Zweihanda. And I think
one of my
during
favorite words.
yeah, during Afterbirth, I think all of us had a spy hander at some point. We kept
Yeah,
rolling, and there were enough spy handers laying around that we were all just running around with these
yeah,
giant swords, murdering these little porcelain babies and stuff. Um, but yeah, the weapons, I love these two spreads. I think it's so clever to have the weapons actually killing somebody, and then just labeling them and saying these are your weapons. So
yep,
there's a great spread, and like the bright that kind of goldish yellow, that like harvest gold or whatever this color is just so Mörk Borg. So having a whole page of just giant badass weapons, because these are most of the weapons on this page are the ones that are bigger than a D4 or a D6. I think everything is a
yes,
D6 except for a small, like a femur, a knife. And then on that second page, you get things that are D8s, D10s, is a flail, a crossbow, and a spy hander. So they're split up into kind of like severity of damage.
yep.
And then moving on to another kind of like
Armor.
woodcut style picture, we get armor. So
Yeah,
armor in this game is damage soak. And all of the rolls, like, so you roll against things as the player, right? So
yeah.
you
So
as the
it's a
DM don't roll
player. Yeah, it's
anything.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah, correct. It's a player facing game, meaning you roll to defend as a player. You do
right.
not. The DM is not rolling to attack you.
Right, but the DM still chooses what they want to do with the
Correct.
character, and
With
they
the
still move
monsters.
and have
Yeah.
a turn. It's different than like Powered by the Apocalypse, where the monsters get turns when you hit them, and how well you hit them or miss them, they get to hit you back. The bad guys still have turns; they still have initiative order. It's just when they go to hit you, you roll to defend; they don't roll to attack.
Yep.
And then you get a bunch of like no armor, light armor, medium armor, heavy armor, shields.
And
Um,
what's nice is they're tiers, right? So rather than having an extensive list of all these different kinds of armor, like, oh, medium armor, it's like scale mail, etc. So you
yeah.
can devise your own kind of armor fitting into that thing. And what's interesting too about the rule set is when you get critically hit, you move down a tier. So tier 0 is no armor, tier 1 is light, and and so on. And so you could basically critically damage your armor, pushing you down a tier. Even if you're wearing heavy armor, which Ryan was wearing on our first game, and that kind of destroyed him, because you can see here that you get it's much more difficult, +4 DR on agility tests.
Mhm.
So that's what did him in. So not only the damage soak, it's tier based,
Mhm.
which you can repair, to get back up higher, or lose it. And shields are just -1 damage. So really, really elegant system. Everything you need to know about armor is right here. And again, rolling is encouraged. So you can see here D4 to get whatever armor.
Their next page is this beautiful black and pink. The pink just, man, it just does it for me.
Yeah,
Massive table for equipment. A bunch of more weapons listed here than what is listed on the main weapons page. Excuse me, more than just 10.
like
Like
a
battle
meat
axes,
cleaver.
bows, yeah. Whips, warhammers, a bunch of other stuff written in the weapons section there. Um, but services, cost to repair armor, animals you could have with you, dogs, rats, and then a massive list of just random equipment.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
there's a nice thing at
So
the very bottom. So improvised weapons do D4 damage. So if you're ever running a game and somebody picks something up, like a meat cleaver, for instance, and wants to hit somebody with it, or they find a shovel, which Nagel did in Graves Left Wanting, you pretty much know what you can rule that as far as damage goes. It's really flexible.
well,
You're never like, oh shit, what would a shovel be in damage? It's like, oh well, D4. But up to your discretion, you can make it. I think I maybe made it a D6 on accident, but
yeah. Well,
whatever.
Shovel's got Like, I mean, soldiers used to carry shovels. They're sharp on the sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's different
yeah.
than a club, like a little femur. The other thing too is I know femur is listed, but there's been multiple times where you found skeletons, not necessarily thinking that the femur was a weapon, but literally just being like, "Oh, there's a femur. We're proficient or whatever with femur. Let's
Yes,
grab
yeah.
femur." You didn't even just
I
like
think
pick up the skull and smash with it.
that's a good point because it encourages that sort of, creative thinking. I think that's what I like about it.
This page has always been weird to me. These two pages. I feel
The
like these two
abilities.
pages are different than any part of the rest of the book. Like it's this 2-page art spread where it's actually like full on just an art image with like angels and like a lion going over a waterfall and stuff. And then this page here with the abilities that almost looks like, first of all, everything on this page is one thing I said
Clean.
before, how most things aren't, yeah, like in straight lines. This is all straight lines, all kind of standard looking font. It looks like it has hole punches on the page This is just a very weird spread to me. To me, this page, I don't know. It's fine. It just seems so different than everything else in the book that it just always
Hmm.
has stood out to me a lot.
But very
But this is a
functional again.
breakdown. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is a breakdown. Yeah, of all the abilities, basically how to roll things, how DRs work, how tests work, which are like checks in 5e and things like that. And just a breakdown of all of those things, and then talking about kind of like random stuff, like carrying capacity and other stuff like that. So,
And also tests. So it talks about how to roll. So, like in 5e, you're rolling against a DC that's DR in Mörk Borg, so difficulty rating, and it again talks about how possible those should be. The I think the average in 5e is 10, right? And so, but in Mörk Borg it's actually a 12 because everything in Mörk Borg should be more difficult, apparently.
yeah.
I guess.
Well, I mean, so the average on a d20 is roughly like a 10-ish, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
without
that's the
modifiers and stuff. I think once you hit like fifth level, I think average DC that most people run is like a DR 15, or DC 15. Which at that point with like any amount of modifiers is not difficult. Like letting
yeah.
you guys do like a skill challenge with DC 15 is like it's almost pointless. You're gonna hit it like 6 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times. This page is beautiful. I love it. It's a giant. Let me shrink this
It's
down
your
here
hit
so you can see
points.
the
The
whole
giant
page.
heart.
Yeah.
This is all the rule. Okay, what's great about this spread? The heart side is all about your rules for your HP, and the left side is called the violence. These are all of the rules you need for combat. One page. This is all you need to know. So again, great design. Not necessarily, not only from like a the way it looks, but functionality.
So, I mean, well, the other thing we'll talk about at some point, we'll look when we get to that page. There is a page in the book too, where all of these rules, because realistically, when you look at the page with the heart on it, there's like 10 words on it, and that's the HP page. It's a giant picture of a
Yeah.
heart, but there's like no pages on it. There is a page in the back that we'll get to that literally has every rule you need to run the game on one page.
It's right here. It's on the back
Boom.
cover.
There you go.
Yeah. So this
So,
page, no, sorry, this page here, this is all the
yep.
rules for the game. One page.
So, so yeah. Okay, and then violence, yeah. Melee attack, ranged attack, defense, like everything for combat, one page. How long is a round? A round is enough time to make an attack and traverse a normal sized room. There are usually 10 rounds in 1 minute. Um, I like that concept, and like when I was working on the game that I'm working on, and then I'll eventually I'll put out somewhere. I like that, like it's enough time to do this. Like who gives a shit? I'm not counting down time. I'm not saying it's exactly this. I'm not saying it's exactly that. How far can you move on a turn across a normal size room? That's
Yeah.
it. So basically, the GM goes, it's about there. That's it. That's about
Yeah.
as far as you can get. There you go. Because there are no grids. There's no nothing for that. So I love that more free form. I think when you have too many rules that make with too much of a specificity, people will bog down, and it shuts their mind down and doesn't allow them to kind of think outside the box. Like if you give too many examples of things, people will just use that examples of the list that they can do and not go beyond that, even if it says you can do more than this. Here's just a bunch of examples. So
Yep.
just saying you move this far and then you do this thing, I think allows people to kind of be more free in their thoughts.
Right. I mean, there's a great video on by Dungeon Craft on YouTube if you guys want to check it out. I think I may have posted it one time, but he was talking about how um, more rules give you less choice. That's his philosophy, and he has a really good argument for it.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. I'm curious what Sursa would say about that. But looking at like Victory Basic, like that in of itself is it's a dragon game or a dungeon game, whatever people want to call it, with a lot less rules than 5e, since 5e, like I said, is now this bloated corpse of. Anyway, rest, reaction, morale rules are interesting. There technically are alternative morale rules for 5th edition. No one uses them because, honestly, let's be honest, most people didn't read the DMG.
Yeah. Reaction
But
is probably one of my favorites too,
mhm.
which is a callback to old games where, if you encounter somebody, you roll on a 2d6, and it depends on how they react to you. So 2 to 3 is kill, 4 to 6 is angered, 7 to 8 is indifferent, 9 to 10 is almost friendly, 11 to 12 is helpful. So I love the roll table aspect because it lends itself to just situations you wouldn't expect. Now, this is
I don't
only
think
if when meeting creatures whose reaction is uncertain. So
I was gonna say I don't think we've had a good morale roll ever. I feel like every time it's been like,
yeah, I
oh,
know.
Jason's
It's
rolling this random thing. Oh, it's morale. Oh, he hates us. He wants to
they
murder us all.
stand
He's gonna fight to the
well
dead. All right,
well no,
cool.
morale
Good
is
time.
when they're gonna run or not, really. So
Yeah,
or
they
surrender.
don't.
And you guys
They
actually did
don't.
have a cannibal surrender to you in the in Graveless Wanting.
We
And then you destroyed him.
did, and
Yeah. So that was
I
more
murdered the shit out of
yes.
him. I
You
stabbed him
murdered
right in the throat. Yeah, that was a good time. That was a good
exactly.
time.
So yeah, that's what I
This
mean.
is
It's just
a
unexpected things. It's
yeah.
cool.
Which again, less rules allows for more stuff, basically. You know what I mean? And a lot more freedom, I think, in people with their thought process in the beginning. Another beautiful page on page 32, literally just a giant art spread. Literally just a giant art spread before heading into the getting better page. So as what Jason said in the beginning, this book is 71 pages plus the adventure in the back. If you took out all the art, it'd be like, what do you think, like 15 pages maybe?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. But the art is what makes the game. So
Hmm.
page 33, getting better. The game master decides when a character should improve. It can be after completing a scenario, killing mighty foes, or bringing home treasure. And oh, that's what I was trying to say. Getting better, and then in little tiny letters, or
Or
worse. Because if
worse.
you roll bad, you can actually lose stats. And I'm pretty sure I lost like an
Yeah.
agility point or
I
something.
think you
Yeah.
did. And I think
Yeah.
from a functional standpoint, from a design standpoint, what I love about it, actually maybe more from a narrative standpoint, is that adventuring is tough business, right? You might get wounded, you might be psychologically damaged, and that is essentially what the or worse is trying to do. So it's a great little addition that's somewhat, I think a lot of people might feel it's counterintuitive, but from a flavor standpoint, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think it's great. It feels like, again, slightly over the top, but also set in reality. It's like you just had this thing happen to you. Um, you might not be better for it because it's not like you're
Yeah,
leveling. It's just you increase your stats a little bit. It's not like you level and get like a new ability or something like that. You
right.
literally just gain some points, and that's
And some
about it.
some items, yeah, left in the
Yeah,
debris you find, and you roll a
yeah.
d6. But there is, I will for any of the naysayers out there, I think somebody on the Merkborg forums actually calculated statistically, and it was a bell curve. So it was, there is design here. It's not like literally every time you're going to get shittier and shittier and shittier. Most likely at low levels you will get better, and then you kind of peak, and then we'll start dropping over time. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting with what we're currently running, how that's going to work over time.
I know. We'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
Moving into powers, another beautiful black and white spread. This kind of like again woodcut style. I can imagine this is a
Yep.
piece of dead people art. A few so-called powers are known, and they are usually found written in scrolls. So basically, this is how you use scrolls, which my character, the Dead God's Prophet, primarily uses if I can help it, stay in the back and cast, you know,
Yeah. But
behold the
all of the
power or
ones
something.
here are these are all the scrolls, clean and unclean. Now, power can be anything. So if you devise something in your game where you want someone just to have an ability, that could be a power. It doesn't have to be a physical scroll. And there's some other rules for the Forlorn Philosopher, who has actually tablets, which is in a
Mhm.
zine called the Feretory. Um,
Well, even
but what I
Harga
love,
has her potions and stuff.
yeah, she has her potions. What I love about scrolls, though, or powers, is that you have to roll to get that, to succeed. And if you fail, you get screwed. You lose D2 hit points, and you can't. Your mind is reeling, and you're dizzy, and so you can't use powers for what is it? The next
It's
hour.
D4 hours or something.
Well, no,
That's
it's
what
just
you
the
had me
next
roll.
hour. Yeah, the
Oh, well,
next
you had me roll
hour.
a D4, you son of a
No, no,
bitch.
no, no. That was
Um,
because
I failed
that
on a
was the fear
scroll.
thing. You did a catastrophe.
Oh, I
You
did. I
rolled a
did a
one, and
catastrophe.
there's
That's
another
right.
table which we'll get
That's
to.
right. Yep, yep,
So
yep.
there's a critical
But
fumble on a
yep,
spell, which is fucking awesome.
and it
Why
sucks.
why doesn't that happen in D&D? God damn it.
It should. It should. It should. Well, I mean, wild magic and blah 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 blah. But you're just gonna have like a cow fall from the sky and some bullshit.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about the scrolls are the names. Like the abilities
Yeah.
are cool. So like the one that I've used frequently produces D2 lightning bolts dealing D6 damage, and it's called 9 Violent Signs on Not the Storm. That's amazing to me. Like foul, psychopump,
Yeah.
um, eyelid blinds the mind, um, grace for a sinner, unmet fate,
Yeah.
just beautiful, beautiful,
And you
like
see
just these
this
evocative names.
this little text right here, these little blocks of text, that is the spell description. That is what it
That's
does.
it.
You don't
That's it.
need a fucking giant, oh, in the year of da 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 and this and that and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, this is what it fucking does right here.
That's it. That's
A
it.
short
So
sentence. And what's
one of
nice is
the
those.
issues.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, what's up? No, 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 go for it.
I was gonna say it's not specific either. It says a creature, right? A
Yep.
creature becomes invisible. D4 creatures fall asleep. So a creature could be anybody, including the people around you.
Right. Well, that's
So
why, like death, all creatures within 30 feet lose a total of 40 hit points. If everyone's like right around you and you're like, fuck, I
yeah,
cast death, and you're like, well, shit, everyone's dead. You killed
yep.
everyone. Good job.
Yeah.
So what was I gonna say? It's gone. I don't know. Totally forgot what we were talking about. Something about scrolls and spells and powers. Am I gonna
uh,
get it back?
the catastrophe or no?
No, nope, it's gone.
No.
All right.
Okay, it's gone.
Anyway, so the spells, the scrolls. Oh. It's another knock on 5e. The way that 5e works is basically if we don't say you can do it, you can't do it. And the way I think a lot of OSR games work are basically like if we don't say you can't do it, sure, why not? You know
Yeah,
what I
it's up
mean?
to the GM. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
know
and that
5e is like that.
allows
In all fairness, I feel like 5e, the DM can do whatever they want, but yeah, I see what you're
but
saying.
but but it's not good game design for a
Right.
game to go, we're going to make all of these super specific rules,
Yeah.
but if you don't want to follow them, you don't have to. Like that
Yeah.
makes no sense to me. Versus doing something like this where it's much more broad,
Yeah.
and letting people have that freedom, because there's plenty of people that want to play raw, want to play rules as written,
Hmm.
and are going to rules lawyer you, and I'll just be
Yep.
like, here's a bird. Um, I am God in this world. Um,
The next page is
so
another
yeah.
spread of she.
And it's this beautiful art of she, yeah, the two-headed basilisk. This is a gorgeous piece of art.
And these are kind of
It's used.
adventure hooks, I guess. It's like a roll table of the basilisk demand. So you could weave that into your adventure if you wanted to.
Well, and she is the two-headed basilisk, and there's two. It's Lucy and Ark.
Yeah.
Are the names of the two heads.
Yep.
And again, just a gorgeous spread, just this like giant two-headed kind of quasi-dragon creature thing, all black and white, and then behind their heads are these like kind of Renaissance halo style yellow gold art pieces that are just stunning. And yeah, the Basilisk Demand. I didn't roll on this, I don't think.
No, no, no. This is more for the GM.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
cool.
it's essentially if you wanted to add like she, or maybe a cult of she who are seeking something, you could roll on this table, and you know, eyes that have seen the shimmering fields, the year's firstborn goat, Blut's day bread, just random stuff. So kind of adventure hooks.
Another fun page.
Oh yeah, Omen's
Another
my favorite.
interesting, different page because once again, most of this book is white, black, pink, and yellow. And this is another random page that's just got a ton of red on it, which is very different compared to the rest of the book. And these are talking about omens. And what exactly are omens?
So omens are abilities you have that essentially can do a number of things. You only have a certain amount per day. When you get to 0, you have to roll how many you have. Standard is D2. However, different classes can have more or less. But what they can do is you can use them anytime. If you've seen our stream, you've hopefully seen them in action. But you can choose any one of these things. You can either deal maximum damage with one attack, re-roll a dice roll, yours or someone else's, which is fucking cool. So it's not just about you. You could use it for somebody else. And I believe last session Ducky used it for you, Ryan. You
Yeah.
can lower your damage dealt to you by D6, neutralize a crit or fumble, or lower ones. This you guys use it all the time. Lower one test DR by -4.
Yeah.
So that would bring a default one down to 8. So they guys just have to roll 8 or higher.
I feel like that's kind of broken. A lot of them are like neutralize, crit,
Yes.
lower damage, or whatever. But like, it's not even by D4. It's by a flat 4, which makes it like really, I don't want to say easy, but
Well,
makes
think about it though. Well, first of all, optional rules. You can see that right here.
yeah.
So some people don't use them, but um, if we weren't playing where people could buy them for you, you guys would just hoard those. Those would be very, very precious items. Whereas when people are kind of donating them, you kind of get more. So,
Yeah. Optional tables: trauma, a bad childhood, a hidden history, or a twisted fate attending your birth already shaped you.
Yeah, this is kind of your
Terrible
character.
traits.
Yeah, character generation for flavor stuff.
Which is interesting that they put it in the back with optional rules. I guess since it is optional, not with the character creation section. I mean, I guess I understand that you're putting all the optional rules together.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you roll twice, 2d20s twice. So if you roll like 3 and 18, you have problems with authority and you're deceitful. I don't remember what mine were. I think I'm nihilistic and arrogant or something. I basically rolled myself.
Or an inveterate bug eater, which is really cool.
And then there are physical ailments that you can run, that you could roll. Another table for that. Broken bodies, you roll a d20. Number 2, you could be covered in some form of blasphemous tattoos. Corpulent, ravenous, and drooling. You have a red, swollen alcoholic's nose. And then a d20 of these random... What would you even call this? Like, is there a name to this page? Is it just, like, these are traits?
Yeah, these are just more traits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just more stuff to add to your character. And we rolled through all of these.
Oh, so I got number 7. My best friend is a skull, which we discussed, Arvant. And I carry it with me, telling it everything, and I trust no one more than Arvant, my skull.
Yep.
And then Ducky got 8. You pick your nose so deep it bleeds. So, good times. Didn't Jess get the bug eater?
I think she did, yeah. And I think that, no, I think Jess has bugs in her hair, and Harga eats them. I can't remember. Maybe, or no, maybe
one
of
them has, one of them has bugs and one of them eats them for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Troubling
tales. This is the chart. If you'd like to, you could throw a knife at this.
Yep.
Instead of rolling it, and
roll
at
D20
one of these
or throw a knife at the page. Yeah.
Yeah. See what happens. This is kind of, again, adventure seeds. I know we've talked a lot about character creation and backstory, but this kind of gives you a little bit of a seed for that to develop it if you want to. Again, all optional. If you want to make up your own character, go for it.
The only thing, so this page always gets me. It says Arcane Catastrophe, but it says you read it wrong, you illiterate fool. What did we read wrong?
You read the scroll wrong. That's what it's saying.
Catastrophe.
Yeah, no. So
Oh,
this
the
is when you this is this is
scroll.
this is exactly what happened to you last night
In
or Thursday.
game.
You read it
In
wrong, you illiterate
game. Yeah.
fool. Now you have to roll on
Yeah.
this table.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool. This I read the scroll. I didn't read this page in the book or in the world. Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And what did I roll?
You got a 4.
Um,
The illusion of the celestial sphere is
yeah.
lifted. You now see what dwells beyond, and it sees you. Gazing upon a clear night drives you mad with fear. And so that's what I had you roll because,
Uh,
just because we were in
I
combat.
yeah. I look up from the table and see 4 people sitting around these giants with dice or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It drives me mad.
But there is some jacked up stuff in here.
Yeah.
So, like,
Oh yeah.
if you roll a 1 by one, your teeth fall out. Long, brittle fingernails replace them in your gums. Your smile is horrific, and you find it hard to eat.
Yep. Number
So,
2 is fun. You feel fine. It's fine. You postulate with a magical STD. Those intimate with you will die of plague within D4 days and rise as a woeful weeping zombie who tracks you down in your dreams before finding you in reality. So you get a magic STD, and if you have sex with anybody, they die and come back and haunt you in your dreams and in real life.
yep.
So those are good times.
Good stuff. I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
I wish there was I don't know that's one of my complaints about a lot of, I guess I don't want to call them just modern role playing games, I guess, but there a lot of times there's no consequence for failing a spell. I mean, I feel like you're dealing with crazy powerful shit, right? You're wielding the powers of another dimension or something. And yet if you fuck up, oh, no big deal. Whereas this mitigates that. Now we move on to classes, I guess. The Fang
Yeah.
Deserter.
So Fang Deserter is something that I believe Jess played this in our
Nah.
in our
Which one? In the original?
yeah, didn't she?
Oh, maybe. I don't
No.
remember.
She played basically what a werewolf. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe it
Oh,
was like
that
the
is the
Skinwalker.
Cursed Skinwalker.
There it
Yes.
is.
That's
Yeah.
a class that is not in the book, but is on the Mörk Borg website.
And this is just a great piece of art. Like just this kind of like pink like sun or moon in the background and this like just fanged like
Yeah. It's essentially
this
a fighter
weapon. Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
But you
So
have
like
like
big
crazy shit.
toughness. Yeah, yeah. Bunch of abilities that come with it, things like that. Gutterborn Scum
Basically a
is a
rogue
fun
or a
one.
thief. Yeah.
Mm. Another great creepy piece of art that's become like tokens and things like that. That's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to describe this person, but they're weird. And they got fishnet, as
Yeah.
rogues are one. Esoteric Hermit.
This is Nagel.
Yep. The stone of your cave is one with the stars, silence and perfection. Now the chaos of a fallen world disturbs your rituals. And the call of night grows blacker than your cavern's gloom. Irritating. Yep.
So yeah, every one of these characters you roll on a table for different. You roll abilities slightly differently than the classless ones, and then you have some items you can get. And so I think Jess got a book of boiling blood. That's what she got.
Which only makes sense. Every character she has is obsessed with books.
This is a
Wretched
weird one.
Royalty.
Yeah, wretched royalty.
Yeah.
So you're
I don't
like
think anyone's done
basically,
this, but you're basically
yeah,
yeah,
you're
just a piece of
royalty
shit
that has
prince.
fallen.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things though that you get is, where is it? Oh yeah. So if you roll a 4, you get Hamfund, the squire. This intensely cowardly servant acts only as a guardian for the scabbard of the cursed sword Eurykia, I guess. Once per combat, if Ham can be found, Eurykia may be drawn. The sword does 2d6 damage, and for every swing, the squire. Yeah, it's weird. You have this random squire.
But he does nothing but hold your sword.
Yeah, he holds
And
your
if you
sword.
roll
Yeah.
a 1, he dies.
Yep. It's so weird.
The
And
Heretical
then
Priest,
heretical
which is one of my
priest.
favorite ones. If I wasn't a prophet of a dead god, I definitely would have been a heretical priest.
Yep.
Hunted by the two-headed basilisks of the one true faith. Was I heretical priest in our one shot? I don't remember what I was.
I think you were.
Yeah.
And you had heavy armor.
Yeah.
I remember right.
Which again, worms.
And
Occult
then
Herb Master, which is Harga.
that is Harga, yes.
I don't know why these pictures always remind me of Star Wars.
Oh
Um,
yeah, the sand people.
yeah, the Sand People. Yeah, the yeah, but it does every time. Born in the mushroom, raised in the glade, watched by the eye of the moon in a silver black pool. This is kind of I guess you would call like a druid, kind of like a
Yeah.
darkish druid vibe.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then we get into the creatures. This weird kind of shark-headed thing, the goblin and its curse.
Yeah. And what's cool about, in most games, and he's got his little pee, which is weird, but it's there.
Oh, it does have a little penis right there. Look.
A little pee. But so what's cool about this in most games, what are goblins, everybody? Goblins are the level 1 pieces of shit, just, oh, let's have a goblet ambush. These goblins, however, are much
Mhm.
different. They all carry a curse. Once like you, they are now trapped in the prison of their crazed goblin flesh. Only their eyes reveal the truth. A ruined mind watching its body prison perform terrible deeds. And then the gist is or the consequence is even being attacked by a goblin sends a curse. So it doesn't have to hit you, just has to attack you. And you have to find and kill the goblin before your mind is paralyzed in, what is it, D6 days?
Yep.
Yeah.
The curse
So
carrying
really
creature still
fucking
lives D6
cool.
days. D6. It's not even 6 days. It's D6 days, which could technically be one.
Yeah. So what's really awesome is they took a traditional, boring kind of generic monster and turned it into just a cursed creature that, was once human and now will pass on that curse until it is dead. So
The other thing I like about the creatures in this is they all have a silver value.
yeah.
So you could basically run Mörk Borg as like a Monster Hunter kind of situation if you really wanted to.
Yep. Yeah, the head is worth 7 silver of a goblin. Dead, the entire thing is worth 20 silver. You capture a goblin, it's worth 150 silver. So a little cool
The only
addition.
problem with silver though is I guess like again you can repair armor and things like that, but I got
Yeah.
a ton of silver and I've never used it really for anything yet. So
Well, I think because I mean you could blame me for that. I feel like that's a lot in games, honestly. It's like video games too. You tend to find the cooler shit, right? Than buy
yeah,
it at a fucking city. But
yeah,
I haven't
exactly.
really sent you guys into many cities, just that one little village. So you haven't had
Yeah, and
much use for
we'll
it.
see what happens as we continue going through.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of cool things in here. Berserker, Zukuma, a rat, WRAT. It's I assume
The
that's this.
Wraith.
I assume these names at the top are the like Swedish names.
I don't know.
Is my
Yeah, I
thought.
don't know. I don't know.
I
Yeah,
think
I should
Zukuma
look
must be
that up.
Berserker, Wraith must be Wraith. But that's another gorgeous picture here, for the art. And a lot of this stuff is like a beyond us. Like a Wraith HP 15 would fucking wreck us so hard it's not even funny. Like I saw someone create something that's like a Goblin Lord or a Troll Lord or something, and it's like HP 60. I'm like, when would you ever? Like I have 10 HP right now, and I think I have maybe like second most in the party. I think Abe might have 12.
Yeah.
Um, we would get absolutely destroyed by something like this. Um, but yeah, Blood Drenched Skeleton. We fought those.
Hmm.
When we did Afterbirth, a Lich, HP 15, D6 plus special abilities, another gorgeous piece of Johan Nohr art. The Troll, oh my gosh.
Here's the troll.
Oh
Yeah.
man, these things are massive. It's not like again, it's not like D&D Troll where like fire and stuff. This is like a on all fours, just massive, almost like bull-like
Yeah,
creature.
you can see the people down
Um,
here, how small they are.
bulls. Oh yeah, dude, they barely come up to its knees. Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just enormous creature. Regular zombies, the undead porcelain dolls. Those are creepy as fuck. Um,
Yeah. Actually, wait. Let's talk about the tale of what these things are. So this is what's fucking creepy about them.
what
In
those eyes are for.
Tveland, relic thieves, defamers, and corrupt clerks suffer a punishment of exquisite and deeply impractical cruelty. Their children or grandchildren are enclosed in porcelain dolls, then placed in cathedral windows to die slowly of starvation and heat. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
But awesome.
it's again, like there's so much of the lore, more than just in the lore pages, like as you read through the game and things like
Yeah.
that, which are like just give you more of what you want from the game. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's like over the top, but if you're into it, it's perfect.
Yep.
I can see why people that are kind of babies,
This game isn't
yeah,
for everybody. Let's just say
yeah,
that. And that's okay.
yeah. But I think, especially you and me, I think it speaks right to our
Yeah,
Dark
this
Souls.
game when it came
Yeah,
out was like, holy shit, did they write
this is
this
what games
for
should
me?
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what games should be. Yep. And then so yeah, just a number of other creatures, Wicker Man, wyverns. Yeah, even a wyvern is HP 25. This is crazy. We'd get our ass beat by that. Wicker heads, a prowler, the pale one, which is
Yeah,
interesting. So there's a
these are
pale one
actually
monster.
so these are
Yeah.
outcasts. These are actually followers. So these are people you can recruit. So yeah, the
Oh, yeah,
pale
we went past
yeah.
the yeah.
This is actually Abe's character.
Yeah. So
So they
they
turned
took
it
one of
into a
the
class.
followers into a
Yeah.
class, yeah,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. Um and the prowler, this creep.
Yeah. So these are
Um
people you can hire as henchmen to come along with you.
should hire
Um,
some henchmen.
good. Oh, and this
There's
part,
this
more
beautiful
foil.
page, yeah, with the foil.
And this is the
Um
beginning of the starter adventure. It comes with a book.
So we're not going to go too deep into that. One of the things I noticed though in the book that I thought was amazing is, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, right before you hopped on. Hey, Evil Andy, how's it going? If you feel those pages and you feel the pages in the rest of the book, it's
Yeah.
different paper.
Yeah.
Like it's a
Yeah.
rougher paper.
The
Yeah,
adventure is more of a matte. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. It's definitely got a rougher versus smooth texture compared to the rest of the book, which is really interesting.
So
But
I
we're not
don't
going to go too deep into the adventure. We don't want to give any spoilers for
know, but one thing I would
people.
like to show though, really quick, is that if you look away if you don't want to see this, but the design is fucking amazing for this. It highlights the room you're in. It tells you with very, very brief language what's in there. Like library, bedroom, cool, slightly smoky air. And it tells you in a bulleted list what's in there. It's extremely useful. You could use this at the table, right? You would need to have like anything else. If you're doing like theater of the mind or something. Yeah, it's great, great. Super easy to use stuff. There's
Well,
even
and
like a
and
little map down here, and it shows you, oh, you're right here. And this is the entire map. So
And again, we ran this as just like a non-stream, just playing the game
yep.
like with each other. And before we started, the Adventure Archive, and it was a really fun adventure. I totally understand why they put that one as the original adventure. You definitely get a sense of like what Mörk Borg is by playing it, which is wonderful.
Yep. And then more roll tables
Um,
where you are.
Yep. So you can create a dungeon here, and we'll talk about more of what Mörk Borg has to offer beyond this book too, and especially dungeon. Um, but it talks about imminent danger, sample rooms, distinct features, literally a whole table on just rolling up a dungeon if you want. And then this is a page we were talking about in the beginning, we flipped to earlier. Everything you need is to run the game is on this page. Abilities and tests, combat, adventuring, armor, powers, scrolls, everything, all in one page. So if that's all you need is to pull up that page, and again, we'll talk about some more stuff that the website and everything has to offer here shortly. But and then there's a name register, like the world, the rules. These are all the different names that you can find across like every
Yeah,
part of the
this is
thing.
just the index basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And
What
then
page to go
yeah,
to.
and then that's the back cover. So that is the book. That is
Oh,
Mörk
it's got a
Borg.
bookmark, by the way.
Oh, and not only that, on the bookmark
You're
it's
into
printed.
bookmarks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
there's actually
printed
printing
bookmark.
on the bookmark. Yeah,
Yeah, it
which I don't know if
says
I've seen in a bookmark a lot.
no,
Is it
not
like
really.
Stockholm Cartel and stuff?
Stockholm, yeah, Colts, Horde Master Games, and Mörk Borg, and some cool yeah, I think you guys can see it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Free League loves the ribbons, and I love them for it. All of their books, I believe, have ribbons, or most of them.
Oh yeah. So that my
Yeah,
friends
Andy, I
is
exactly. Andy just said that he would like to use that kind of design, that mapping design, for any other kind of game, and I totally agree. I wish more adventures were this easy to use.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did talk about the glow in the dark on the side, the Psalm 7 on the side of the book.
Yep. Well, I can't really see it. It's invisible, but it's
No.
kind of like
I
an
wish,
embossed text,
yeah.
so you can feel it and see it. But yeah, it'll glow in the
If
dark.
you, let me see if I can get a little shine on it. You can get, yeah, you can see it just a little bit right there when the light hits it just right. You can see the
Yeah.
letters right there. And like I said, it's the Psalm 7 with an upside down cross at the bottom. So it's beautiful. And not only that, I mean, again, so this entire part of my bookshelf from here over is all third-party content or additional content created by Mörk Borg, like the Ferritory, which comes with a copy of Dark Fort in it. Um, yeah. Oh
Fungi,
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
somewhat.
whole yeah, the color definitely is blacklight or UV responsive. So there's
There's
Ferritory. I
Ferritory.
wish, I wish Ferritory was a hardback book. I feel like it's too fragile for how thick of a zine it is.
Yeah, but one
That's one of my only
awesome thing about
knocks.
Ferritory is, oh, this is so cool. It's a
The fold
monster
outs.
generator,
Yep.
roll tables. And what I love, and I think some philosophy in OSR is the same way, is there's not really a bestiary, right? There's only one of these things. And I think that really facilitates at a roll table. And it
Mhm.
makes things more terrifying because I think one of my gripes about sort of, and I don't want to be harping on D&D too much, it's just kind of classic fantasy, is
Yeah,
that,
I'm fine with that.
as a player, you kind of meta know what a goblin's going to do. You meta know what an
Yeah.
orc's going to be. So there's no like sense of mystery. This fixes that monster
Yeah.
generator. So it's really cool.
Yeah, well, for now too, until people really get a sense more of it. But yeah, and especially when you have players that like snatch up everything and read everything, it's really hard to surprise them.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone knows the
Matt,
goblin
cough,
has 7
cough,
hit
Matt.
points. Yeah, yeah. That, I wasn't going to say him by name, but yes, Matt. We're talking about you. But the other thing too, though, is people play D&D like that. They're like, it has 7 hit points, and these are all its abilities, versus being like, it actually has between this many and this many hit points, and so you could do max out that hit points. You could give it different weapons. You could give it different armor. You could give it a bonus ability. You could give it a bloodied effect. There's ways to make it more interesting, and most people just go Goblin 7, Nimble Escape, boom, boom. It's got a scimitar. Like, that's it. So one of the things about Ferritory that I want to talk about is what else Mörk Borg has kind of on offer.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason Ferritory even exists, um, let's just go to here. We'll just go to merkborg.com. So if you like the layout of the book, you'll love the layout of the website. Um, I think I can hit this. Yeah, and go full screen with this. So again, boom, Mörk Borg. Um, as you scroll, the website moves with you, and it's crazy. And here are all the rewards: 7 innies, best writing gold, best layout design gold, product of the year gold, um, best game silver, best supplement for Ferritory, what he's holding right now, gold, best online content gold, and best digital aid silver. So they got silver and best game, but did win product of the year, and they only got silver and best game to Alien the RPG that year when it came out.
Yep.
One day all will blacken and burn. So this is the website. It gives you a breakdown of all this stuff. But again, look at the way the website scrolls. Like, how I've never seen a website work like this. Like, it's
It's kind of
gorgeous.
like a play on the infinite scroll, right? So it's infinitely scrolling, but you have them moving horizontally sometimes
Mhm.
and stuff. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. It's gorgeous. So we're getting into what this Mörk Borg content, right? So what he's holding in his hand, Ferritory. If you look at the front cover, there's a little logo, plus the foil in the eyes, but there's that little logo
Yeah.
that says like Mörk Borg approved content, right where your I think left pointer finger is.
Or is
That
it?
little symbol on it,
Oh,
like,
this?
yeah. So they actually use, I think it's a version of that when they do this. So this is it says Mörk Borg um
Yeah,
cult
third party.
approved
Yeah,
content. Yeah.
right.
So it's not just third party, it's Mörk Borg approved third party. And a lot of this stuff in Ferritory, and that's part of Mörk Borg cult, is people submitted stuff that Mörk Borg liked so much, they actually made it official content.
Yeah,
And actually, Johan Nohr did art for almost all of it. So when you look at
yeah.
Graves Left
So,
Wanting, this
yep.
is something that somebody wrote, Carl Druid, and then they turn this into official Mörk Borg content
Hmm.
as part of the cult. And what Ferritory is they have this massive library of this third party content. They actually took all of this third party content that everyone has free access to and put it into this book. And
Yep.
so this is all like non like Johan Nohr or Pelle Nielsen content. It's fan made content that they put into a book, and then that book won a gold freaking Innie. Like, to me, that's amazing. One of the things I'll scroll all the way to the bottom real quick and talk about is this, and I think it's fucking genius. It's this Mörk Borg third party license. We love community created content, hacks, adventures, monsters, tables, etc. Our main program for encouraging that kind of thing is Mörk Borg Cult, but we also want to make it possible for you to create things for the game without having to wait for our review process, approval, and layout art. So basically, this is a license that allows you to make whatever the fuck you want to make. And unlike D&D, where you need basically like 3 lawyers to figure out how to publish something without getting fucked, this literally tells you, numbers 1 through 6, how to publish content for Mörk Borg. What and even gives you downloadable like logos
Logos.
that you can use with your stuff, and tells you exactly what you can't do with it. It's the easiest system in order to make third-party content where you can brand it, write exactly what needs to be done. Boom, 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 1 through 6. Sit down for 15 minutes, and anything you make, you can publish for Mörk Borg. And if you want, you can put it in Mörk Borg Cult and actually get it approved with a Mörk Borg approved layout and art and everything. But again, look at all this. And not only that, again, this is free. This is free. It's in that book that you pay for. But if you want to do the Goblin Grinder, boom, download PDF. It's free.
Yep.
If you want Graves Left Wanting, it's free. If you want Bloat, it's free. And when you talk about additional content too, we have to talk about Tender's Reliquary, of course.
Yeah,
But
and
some of the newer
actually,
stuff.
fun fact, bloat is actually I kind of riffed on that for Gorge for
Oh,
that dungeon
really?
you guys are in. Yeah, so I took it, I redesigned it in terms of the layout, but used the concept of
That's
Silas.
awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this, if you guys can see on the screen, the very back of the zine, the Black Salt Wind. That
Oh,
is
yeah.
that's what I used in the Gorge itselp. Yeah. So
Very cool.
again, even on the back cover, right? The back cover, it's
Yeah.
not blank. It's got
So
shit,
there's a
useful
lot of
shit.
content. So the one thing that's great about Mörk Borg too, since there's so much like kind of consistency in its vibe and its style, a lot of the people that have been making third party content like keep it true. Like, it feels like Mörk Borg. A lot of the third party content I've read feels like Mörk Borg, and there's some that we've talked about, Jason, where it's like kind of taking it and moving it a little beyond what the regular lore is, which is totally fine. But even the stuff that feels like it belongs in the world, that it could have been written in the game and added to the game, is so much third party content that you, like you just said, you can piece together an entire short campaign by putting together multiple adventures. Dead God's Prophet is the character that I play now. The Pale One is a character that Ducky plays. Cursed Skinwalker is what Jess played. So we played 3 third-party content things. But in addition to that, there are a couple of other things that they won awards for.
The dungeon generator.
The Dungeon Generator, is it?
I don't
Well,
know if
they
it's
have a
linked on this
monster
page.
generator.
They have a
They have a
monster
monster
generator.
generator
Yeah.
right here. Literally,
And then
like, you just boom, monster,
you
monster,
one
monster.
I love how you like click the egg too. And then
Yeah.
that's what hatches. So really what that
Um,
is all it is this. So it's this guy just, coded into a website for a 1 click. So
Yep. And then you would think that they would put dungeon on here. Oh, Dark
is it?
Fort character sheets, which is great.
Yep. It's not on there, huh? I'm sure if you just Google it, you'll find it. But the dungeon generator is, again, it's a automated version of what's in the core book.
Here it is, the Murder Vault.
Right here. Yeah. So it's essentially this.
It doesn't let me open it.
It's like DNGN or something weird like that.
Yeah, DNGNGEN. Yeah, it says right here. Maybe I'm just on the dev page and it's not taking me to it. But this is something that they won an Innie for like best like online content. Yeah, see, it's not
I
letting
can
me
get to
go
it. You
to it.
can't get to it? I can get to it.
No. It
And
says
what's
like
what's
dev on it.
what's nice is if you click to enter, it randomly generates everything. But what's even
Oh, there it
cooler is
goes.
if you're like, oh, I don't really care about this certain aspects. So they give you 4 rooms. They say entrance guarded by a distinctive feature. What brings you here? You can click on those headings, and it'll randomly generate. If you're like, I don't really like room 2, it's just flooded with an obsidian basilisk. So you click on that,
Hmm.
it'll randomly generate something else for you too, which is cool.
And
So you're
this
not
is
stuck
this
with it.
is this is it. Like this is let me blow this up again. Like this, I'll even pull the page up a little bit. Excuse me. You can create a 4 room dungeon just like this, copy it, print it, do whatever. And again, free content. So when you pay for the original book, which is like $25 on Amazon right now, um, the amount of extra bonus free content without having to buy territory, the number of adventures, the number of extra bonus stuff that there is, including dungeon creator, monster creator, everything you possibly want, is free content. It's not like D&D where they're going to nickel and dime you. I mean, they do make magic, the Gathering, not like magic. But Mörk Borg is all about community. It's all about letting
Yeah.
the community create more things. It's all about creating resources for the community to continue to make it. It's just so much of it is just, I don't know.
Well,
It's
I feel like Free League. I know they're Free League is the publisher, not the designer. Pelle Nielsen and Johan Nohr did all the work, but um, they it's just like I said, it's a labor of love for them. They wanted to make a cool game.
Mhm.
They weren't in it for the money. Free League, I feel the same way. Super small company over in Sweden. They all their stuff top fucking quality, printing and
oh my gosh,
writing and artwork,
that
and
the book that I got
it's
for
amazing.
Forbidden Lands,
Yeah,
which one?
yeah.
What's it called again?
It's called
Uh,
the Crypt of the Mellified Mage.
Yes, Mellified Man. Yeah, yeah. The quality of the paper, the art, the feel of the book itself, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Free
Yeah,
League is winning favorite publisher every year for a reason. Like I haven't played Tales from the Loop, but I know what it is. I know it runs the same system as Alien, which I'm very excited for. I of course bought everything that Forbidden Lands put out last time. So just diving deep into things that aren't Wizards of the Coast D&D 5e, and getting into a company that I feel personally is much more invested in um, their fans
yeah.
and
They're
their
not trying to get rich
players.
off it. They're not trying to
That's
get rich
exactly what
off
it is.
it.
And WotC, realistically, at the end of the day, is just making hand over fist money and is doing anything they can to make money. And I think game people like Johan Nohr, like the people that did Mörk Borg and the people that have put out and Free League in general, I feel like they care more about making an awesome game that fans will love than making money. And I know that they're like I don't think Jeremy Crawford, I don't think a bunch of the people, the faces of D&D are like that, but WotC is. WotC's entire thing is just get more people, make more money, and I don't feel like publishers like Free League have that mindset. Of course, they're a company. Of course, they need to make money, but I feel like
Yeah,
the emphasis is on
yeah. They're
making a
small.
fantastic game.
I mean, I get
Yeah,
it, right? I mean, they're small, independent. It's a handful of guys running it. It's not like Wizards of the Coast, who is owned by like Hasbro, right?
Hasbro. Yeah,
So there's a lot of pressure there. There's a board of directors, so I get it. I mean, it's just I think I don't think Ryan is bashing on it just for the sake of it, but I feel like it's more like it's coming from a place of frustration because I grew up on these games. I think that I first started playing second edition way back, and um I know TSR kind of failed as a company because they were doing that. They were putting out amazing shit, these crazy box sets with tons of content. It wasn't free, but you could just tell it was just like bleeding with the love of the game, and I feel like just because of corporate pressures and stuff, it's unfortunate. That's really where my frustration comes for. It's like I'm
well,
upset about it. I'm sad. Breaks my heart.
but I feel like the fact that the company is Swedish too probably helps because let's be honest, if they were in the United States,
Yeah.
they'd probably have all those
Yeah,
corporate pressures and board of
you're
directors
right.
and
You're
investors
right.
and
They'd
stuff
have
up
a
their ass
different,
too.
yeah, they'd have a
Yeah.
different, philosophy. They're like
They'd
rich,
have the
rich, rich,
American
money, money,
mindset,
money.
which is fuck
Yeah.
everyone, let me get rich.
Yes.
Until
Yeah.
I am an oligarch, ruling parts of America, I have not made it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that at least from the feel that I get from Free League, is they have that feel.
Yeah.
Where again the people, the overlords at WotC definitely have that feel, and if they didn't, they wouldn't be just like ramming Magic the Gathering up into D&D, since we know Magic makes more money. I'll rant about this constantly. You'll hear this from me
This has turned
many
into
many times.
a
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast hates stream, but that's okay.
It's true. Again, I don't hate the people over at D&D. I like I said, I really like Jeremy Crawford. I really like oh gosh, what's the main guy's name? No, Mike Mearls is a piece of trash. Don't get me started on that. But the oh gosh, what is his name? He runs all the games. He's a super seems like a super nice guy. Can't remember.
Is
Whatever.
it?
They all seem
No, go ahead.
Chris
All time.
Perkins.
Chris Perkins. That's
Chris
right.
Perkins
I
and
was like,
Jeremy
is it a
Crawford.
Chris? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They seem like amazing, super nice guys that really care and try. But you can only care and try so far when, like you just said, you have a board of directors, you have a money hungry corporation, like pushing you and pushing you. In my opinion, I don't know if you've ever played Destiny, but to
Yeah, a little bit.
me,
Yeah.
it became such a disappointing game because it's very clear that they cater, especially to Destiny 2, they cater to the casual player and don't reward the diehard. And I feel like Wizards of the Coast over the past, I'm gonna say 2 years, has transition towards that aspect of the game where they're more worried about like giving to the casual, not listening to their diehard player fan base, and are more worried about recruiting more players to the game than rewarding the people that have stuck with them from the beginning.
Yeah. But I
um
mean, I will give credit where credit's due. Like they have definitely, like you said, brought it to the mainstream. Like when I
that's
played
I mean
D&D, it was a bunch of like,
nerds in
nerds
the basement.
who,
Yeah.
who hated God and wanted to worship the devil and
my
stuff, right? So it's like,
I want to do her.
yeah,
um
right. There you go.
But yeah, no, they definitely did, and they brought some prestige to it a little bit. They made it where, I mean, they made it cool, to an
Yep.
extent.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially after like things like Stranger Things and stuff like that, a lot more people, I would say, like at least 40% of people in the United States at least know of D&D. 20% of those think it's a video game, and it is, but that's not what it started as, which I have to tell everybody all the time. But I look jaundiced with this giant Merkborg screen next to me
Yellow,
blowing
yeah,
this like
reflecting
yellow
light.
light onto me. But I feel like that's great, and it's opened the doors to a lot of other tabletop role playing games. And but the thing is, they're shooting themselves in the foot long term, because if you look at any like award winners of the past like 4 to 5 years, and you look at where a lot of the money is going, OSR style games and these simplified games from smaller companies are marching towards that money. You know what I mean? They're like all the any award winners of the last 5 years. 5 years ago, there wasn't an OSR small published game in it, and now you look at Free League running the show. Look at Mörk Borg winning, game of the year. Look at things like that, and these are not D&D. The other big knock I have on them is that they, again, when they push for the casual, you can't please everybody. You can't. And WotC tries to. So a lot of their adventures just feel sterilized. You know what I mean? They feel like there's zero controversy. There's like, even like Strahd is different because Strahd is classic. And even when they did the remake of that, they made some changes, which I'm not going to get into. But the newest one, Witchlight, I have to read it first, but I've been told that the best description of it is cute, so I don't think it's for us. Um,
Nah.
but we'll see. I know the Gilded Troll is running it. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I know they're only running with 3 players. For those of you listening and for those in the stream, the Gilded Troll is another D&D stream. Great friends of ours. As I said, they just did their 0 session for Witchlight, and I think they're going to be running games on either Saturday or I think the game is supposed to be on Sundays. So they might have a session now, but check them out for sure. They've run a lot of good stuff in the past, and they are running Witchlight now. So I know our stream kind of steers a little bit more away from published modules, and they really enjoy running published modules. But what's
Yeah.
great is that their DM Ian does a really good job of like chopping out the bullshit. You know what I mean? Like if something is just like whatever, he'll make it really really interesting, which is a great way to like play the module, keep true to the module, but make it better. And I know that they do a really good job of that over there at the Gilded Troll. So definitely check them out. And then I don't know, is I could go on for the next hour and a half about Bash and Watsy. We could try to move away from that if we
Yeah, I
want.
was trying to pull it back.
Um,
I was trying to not turn it into a
yeah,
hate stream. I was like, I totally feel your frustration, and honestly, that's why I have been picking up a lot of games by like Free League and Mörk Borg OSR stuff because it was my gateway drug. I stepped away from the hobby for like a long time. After third edition came out, I didn't play. I never played fourth, and then found the group here locally with you and picked up fifth, and that was just kind of the gateway into wow, look at all these other things that are
yeah,
probably appealing to me more like who I am now, I think. So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, Ducky, thanks so much for the resub. Andy said Chris and Jeremy literally get told what they're going to work on exactly. For
Yeah.
instance, Rhyme the Frost Maiden coincided with Dark Alliance. Descent has Baldur's Gate 3 attached to it. D&D has become a multimedia IP. Exactly. And that's again, I'm not trying to turn this into a hate stream. It's not hate, it's more disappointment. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
cuz
that's yes.
I did not play role playing games growing up like a lot of like you did, like Andy did, like Eric did, and stuff like that. My first tabletop role playing game was fifth edition. And what's interesting about that, I played Magic as a kid, but I read books. I read every book I could possibly find. And as an adult, I realize now I read like every TSR or D&D book possible. I read every freaking Dragonlance book. I read every freaking Forgotten Realms book. I was obsessed with even back then, not Drist, but like the Drow Society and all that kind of stuff. Just thought they were amazing books, and then fifth edition drops in like 2014, and I realized I know all of this. I've read all of this. I never played the games, but I read every novel about all the games growing up. I read all of the like the Greyhawk stuff. I read everything. So it was really this kind of like eye-opening moment where I'm like, I know all this amazing lore. Now I finally get to play the game. And I, like I do, dove 150% into it and defended it for a long time. And now, like I said, it's just this disappointment that I feel like the game is kind of, moving in a direction that doesn't
Yeah. It
just
doesn't
doesn't
have
fit like
that.
my play
Yeah.
style, doesn't fit your play style now. It doesn't, the rules are getting bloated, the lore is getting kind of, and they're with the constant Magic the Gathering stuff, it's just it's
Yep.
pushing me away, I feel. And honestly, it's probably a good thing because there's so many, like we were just talking about, like amazing games that I need to stop spending
Yeah.
money on. But like all of this, like from here up and over and everything. So this is all D&D right here. And then this is Kobold Press, which is my favorite 5e D&D stuff. But then all of this, all of this, all of the top shelf, a bunch of the bottom shelf. This is like Alien, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Toeless, Ultraviolet Grasslands, Old School Essentials, World Champ game stuff with Adam Vast, Troika, third party content, Casket Lands, Swords of Victory, Victory Basic, all of those kind of stuff, pushing into just like you just said, it's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a drug because I spend way too much money on it and it takes up a lot of my
Yes.
time.
You are a
Um,
junkie for sure.
yeah, I'm a hardcore junkie,
Yeah.
so I at least I stopped buying miniatures, but
Yeah.
still spend just as much money on books. So one of the things that I want to talk about for next week is what I'm going to talk about for next week. Do you have any? You know what I think would be great would be Troika. I think Troika would be really fun for
I have
next week.
Troika. I haven't really read through it a whole lot, but Troika's a cool
Oh,
one.
Andy just said, Andy, for those that don't know, Evil Andy XO in our chat, is a member of the Adventure Archive. Life has kind of gotten in the way, but he was running a Theros campaign on Mondays over the Adventure Archive when it comes back from hiatus. So there is magic in it and everything. And he also plays Beat 'em Davelbreen, an evil gnome divination wizard, on our Dark Kingdoms game on Wednesday. He just said that he will have to come on and talk about MTG and D&D with me. I will try harder to not make it a hate stream and really just get my disappointment across with Watsy. Um, But yeah, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to have most of the player, like all the players on from our stream at some point and just discuss, like we talked
Yeah.
about, like, getting into the game, how they got into the game, finding the local community, because all of us on the Adventure Archive, most of us especially, like, are local to each other, and were found after I started a meetup in my local area to try to get a community together, and it flourished for a long time before the pandemic hit. But we've all become friends and players and started the stream all based on knowing each other locally through that meetup and stuff. So I'd love to have all those people on and have those discussions. But I think that's probably the best bet. I think Troika, because I would really like to do old school essentials too, and
Yeah, I would like to see
Dungeon
that.
Crawl Classics. But I think OSE is going to take more than
Yeah.
a week. I think it's going to be a week or two for the regular and for the advanced one. I think Troika's a relatively short-ish book with a relatively simple rule set. I think that'd
Yeah.
be a really good idea. So I
So
think
real quick,
maybe
we didn't
next
really
week.
talk about if you want to, I don't know if you want to cut it right now, but we didn't talk about like
No, I got plenty
playing
of time.
Merc Borg, right? Like
Oh yeah,
how do you feel about it as a player? I can talk about how I feel about it as a GM.
yeah, no, absolutely. I as a player, to me, well, why don't we rate it real quick and then get into that, and we can look at the rating
Okay.
system that I have in place and kind of get a sense of how I feel about the game, right? So, again, on those 5 ratings, you're not going to be in this screen because I set it up like an idiot. But everyone can still hear you. Can they? Can you say something? No, they can't hear you. Grab.
You can rate
No, no,
it.
no, 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 no. Here we go. We'll grab this. Put this over here, and I think they can hear you now.
Hello, hello, hello.
All right, so the five ratings I have set up for the game: art and style, layout and function, rule set and crunch, originality, and price. So on a scale of 5, what would you give art and style? And then
I
I'll reveal
mean,
mine.
come on, 5. It's got to be a 5.
Yeah, it's got to be a
Like
five.
that's
It's an
that's the
easy five.
highlight. That's the highlight,
It
I think.
it's an easy 5. It's an easy 5. Layout and function. What are your thoughts on layout and function of the
I
book?
really love it. I feel like it's very, very consistent with the exception of something like the weapons table where it
Hmm.
spans multiple pages, but it is very, very functional. So
Hmm.
are we doing point like just solid points or point fives or
You can do point 0.5 if you want. I stayed to solid points, but I might do point 0.5s and stuff in the
I-
future.
yeah, only because I don't want to say it's a 4. I would say I guess if I
Yeah.
had to give a 4, I would say layout and function, even though I do feel like 90% of it is up there. So I would say like 4,
Yeah.
4.5.
Yeah, and I gave it a 4 as well. I think my only knock is if we've dug. I know you've dug through this book a million times, and I've dug through the book a million times. When you first pull out the book and start approaching the book, the art hits you in the face,
Hmm.
and really finding the things you need is a tiny bit difficult. But you also get that page in the back that gives you everything you need all on one page. Um, so yeah, if I would have gone points, I probably would have given it a 4.5. I think it is incredibly functional once you kind of
Yeah,
grasp
I
the
agree with that.
layout
What
of
you're
the
saying,
book.
I
Yeah,
agree
yeah,
with you
yeah.
saying. Yeah, it's not as approachable. Like you open it up and you're like, okay, where am I? What is this? You know. But
Right.
once you
Exactly.
understand it, it's actually very well
Mhm.
laid out. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the art is kind of what is the benefit of the book, but also you can get kind of lost in it a little bit, trying to find your
yeah.
place and stuff like that, and realize where you are. Rule set and crunch. How do you feel about the rule set?
I love the rule set personally. It's honestly my first. It was my first delve in back into like what they're calling the OSR, right? The kind of rules light systems. I've since then got more into other ones. So I love it personally. I don't know, 4 or 5. I feel like
Yeah, I gave it a 5. I
yeah,
loved it when we first started playing it, and then since then, like I said a couple of times, I've started getting into game design. Really talking to Circe a lot, reading a bunch of other games, reading some more OSR style games, and the more I read other games, the more I keep falling in love with Mörk Borg because they
yeah,
do it so well. Like it feels not overburdened by a bunch of rules. It feels very open ended to be able to do pretty much anything you want to do without like a ton of guidance.
yeah.
Um, that feels more like just telling you what you can't do.
Well, I think
Um,
what I love most about it too is that it is OSR, but a lot of these games actually are pretty much the same rule set. Where Merkborg did add their own twist to a lot of things, which is nice. So it took
yeah,
like the spirit of OSR added a lot of things like, the omens, for instance, and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I do appreciate that from a design
That's
standpoint. Yeah.
exactly. And like the more you read the quote unquote like dragon games, which are all these hacks of basically like the D20 system,
Yeah.
again, like you said, this one does it, in my opinion, like 5 out of 5, like perfectly well. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing I'm like, this part right here doesn't make sense to me. I'll play it that way. That's the way the rules are. That's cool. But like this, there, I can't really think of anything where I'm like, that doesn't make sense, you know? So that's why I
Yeah.
really like it. Originality, as like an overall, like talking about the rules, talking about the lore, talking about like the product in general. How do you feel
Yeah.
about it?
I think obviously with all of the awards it's made, or it's won, and just the waves it's made across the community. I mean, that's a clear 5 for me. Like
It's a
it's
clear 5.
been
Yeah.
highly influential in the industry, and it's pretty amazing that a couple guys had that kind of sway with everybody. So
Yeah, I think it revolutionized tabletop gaming in my opinion. Like realistically, like anyone that like beyond just like 5e people that are aware of
yeah.
the tabletop gaming community, which I'm still like becoming more and more aware of. I feel like it OSR was already on the rise, and
Yeah.
this punched it right through, like into the forefront of the
Yeah.
consciousness of
It
tabletop
it
role
kind
playing
of it
gaming.
kind of showed you what you could make OSR, right? So I feel like
Yep.
old school essentials is like the pinnacle of OSR perfection.
Hmm.
However, if you want like a twist on it, and I guess through a meat grinder, Merkborg
Yeah.
is the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it takes that dragon game style, simplifies it way more, and then gives it like this game doesn't feel like a rule set. It doesn't. It feels like a personality. This it feels like a creature almost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's more than just like words on a page and this is how you do this, how you do this. Like that's in there, but it feels like so much more. So yeah,
Hmm.
originality for me is 5, and price is a thing because I mean
Yeah.
tabletop games aren't free for the most part. Like you can get some like cheap stuff on itch.io and things like that, but like games cost money. 5e is an expensive hobby. What would you give it for
For
price
you,
overall?
it's
Yeah,
5
yeah,
clearly. I mean, the book,
yeah.
like you said, I think on Amazon it's $25 or under 25 bucks. I think bucks. I think it retails for like 30, like
Yeah, I think it's like
MSRP.
33, but if you buy
So
it straight from the website, it's international shipping and stuff too.
yeah,
So
and again, I can't stress enough. It is a setting. It is a rule set. There is an adventure at the back. It is a game in one book, right? You can
yep.
do
And and
everything you want in one
and
book.
not just that, on top of all of that stuff from Ferretori being free on the website,
Yeah,
the free
free.
monster creator, the free dungeon generator, the free like the amount of free content. You basically never need to pay for anything, in Merkborg again. Once you buy the book, and you have
Yeah,
content for at least an entire campaign with 7 miseries, at
yeah,
least, and it's
yeah.
all free content.
And I mean,
So
amazing, amazing community. If you're interested in this and in the slightest, I highly suggest you check out the Merkborg Discord. Johan, Nohr,
oh
Pelle,
yeah.
Nielsen, they're both on there, both extremely active, supportive, really cool dudes. So yeah, it's just awesome. All around, the creators, the content itself. So
And not just that, like our friend now McGlintlock, who made the Foundry module for
yeah,
Merkborg, so just it's just out there for free for people to use. It's just
yep,
this, and on top of all the rest of the stuff that he has, I just dropped those links into the VOD, or into the Twitch chat. But you can check him out over at glumdark.com. And he's got a bunch of other stuff on his GitHub page. But that's part of the community is literally just like they put out a bunch of free content here. I literally made a Foundry module just so you can run Merkborg, and he watches our stream,
yeah,
and literally, and if we say, "Oh, here's the thing," by next stream, he's like, "Oh, I fixed that. Here you go."
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
that's what the
yeah.
community is like. So it's amazing.
It's
So the
cool.
game for me got a total of a 24. Could be 24.5, could be 25 on a different day. To me, it's probably the most perfect game, in my opinion, that I feel right now. Obviously, things change, things age, things are different and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But for me, at least, I feel that Merc Borg is about as close as you can get to a perfect OSR game. Um, because although again I'm not too deep in old school essentials, I know it's basically just like a slightly modernized version of AD&D. So
yeah,
there's not really like a twist to it. They just did it really really well.
yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
but
Modernized. Yep.
Merkborg again created this own beast that is more than just a dragon game that like is an industry like shaking like beast of a game.
Yeah.
That again to me personally, if you haven't got it, me and Jason are these like dark Dark Souls. So Mörk Borg, literally, the second you open the first page, you're like, ah, like you
Yeah.
just see the light coming off it, and you hear the angels and devils or whatever singing, and you're just like, this is what I've been waiting for forever. Like, this is the perfect game. So,
Yeah, but
so yeah,
it is definitely it is not for everybody's taste. So, understand what you're getting into. And I could see it being exhausting, running a long time. I feel like Merkborg, it sort of has its like shelf life to a degree. You may want to move on to something else. I think Janelle particularly might be feeling the darkness too much. I don't know. But yeah,
I
I
don't know.
love
I
it.
think
I
she's
love it.
doing
I
fine.
love it. I
Well,
love
what's
it.
great is we go back and forth with other games, and then we're like, man, Merkborg's so cool. Then we bring back another arc and keep doing that. So that's gonna be really
Yeah.
fun. But I had a thought, it disappeared. But yeah, I think well, the other thing too is that we run it more like a campaign. Like I
Yeah.
personally, I know we have friends from the past who were really into joke characters. And I just can't do that. It's just not my thing. It's hard to have that concept, and I feel like we talked about this before. I feel like this game could easily be taken by a bunch of like kind of weirdo nerd metalheads. No offense, I'm one too. And made so zany
Yeah.
that it turns into a joke character. Like they take that, like I said, they push the line to kind of being a little ridiculous in the game to, in my opinion, to a perfect degree, and people take it a step too far.
Yeah.
And like you said, people have commented on it. Hey, it's nice to see a campaign run with this, not just like a zany, weird, crazy thing. So I
Yeah.
can see people taking it too far, making it too weird, and not really turning it into a campaign versus just like a zany one shot. Um, but to each their own with that. Now, as far as what we were talking about earlier, as far as the player goes, I think that really describes a lot of it. I love the way the game is played. I'm never gonna not be butthurt that the first time I played it, um, uh, I took not a single point of damage the entire adventure over two
Yeah.
days, and then the very last monster of the entire game, one of the very last monsters.
Yeah.
I think it was the last thing. There might have been like one more room with a couple
Well,
people in it.
it was under control of Fletcher, who was the guy
Yeah.
in the dungeon. Yeah.
Right. Not a single point of damage. I fail one roll. I get eaten by a worm. I'm instantly dead.
Yep.
And that is, I'll never not be butthurt, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's exactly what it is. Like, I made a poor decision. I was wearing heavy armor. I
Yeah.
failed the roll, I think by just like two or something like that. It wasn't
Yeah.
bad by any stretch. I think I even omened it and still failed by very close again. And then one shot and you're dead. And that's the game. And
I mean that honestly for me was the eye-opening moment, I think, is when you didn't take a point of damage because you're, you know, trudging through this dungeon in heavy armor, and then you meet this giant worm that has a mechanic where if you fail, it was a low difficulty rating, and if you fail it, you're just eaten whole. And that's what happened to you. And I was like, oh shit, this thing actually has design behind it. Like this is, and to me, that really just set the tone for Mörk Borg, I think. Unfortunately, it wasn't on stream. It was before that, but yeah, it was a good
we could
time.
always run it. We could always
Yeah,
run
we
it
could
again, and
always
I
run
won't die.
Rock
I
Sledge.
won't
Yeah,
die. I won't die to
as
a
a
worm
one
this
shot.
time. We could run it with some other people. Bring on like L2 and Jedi Mom and stuff like that. Run a whole different one shot. It was fun. It
Yeah.
was interesting because we had Matt and Eric there too.
Yep.
But as a player, it to me, like I said, it's just I'm not ever gonna get over playing it. And the only thing now at this point is like I'm really invested in Nifel. Like I love this character. It's one of my favorite characters I've ever played. I wreck my voice every week trying to get the Nifel.
Oh, I bet.
Um, and I love having our Vaunt. Like I love all the characters that we made. I think that we have a great party mix with that. And again, the rule set to me is fantastic. I fear death slightly less now because we did do the get better. I don't have 1 hit point. I don't have 4 hit points. I have 10 hit points, which I feel like I can take at least one big hit and hopefully not die unless it's another worm, and it doesn't matter if
Hmm.
I have 60 HP. Um, but I still, on a regular basis, like every combat we get into, I'm like, this could be it. Like this could be
How,
it.
how do you feel about player facing roles? I know it's different because we're using the VTT, but how do you feel about you doing all of the rolling? Like, because I know
I
that's very
I
divisive depending on who you ask. So
I like it. I think, and Mörk Borg does it different than, because again, I have not played a ton of different TTRPGs. I bought a bunch, read a bunch, want to play a bunch. The game, once again, that I talked about that I'm working on a little bit, uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which is all player-facing roles, but there's no turns for the creatures. I
Right.
like the way Mörk Borg does. The players, the monsters still get turns. The DM still, you know, deals with the monster, but one thing I like, and I think it fits so well in Mörk Borg, is the player facing roles, because everything is a consequence of your own action. It's not a DM rolling well or like fudging a roll behind a screen or anything like that. If you die, it's because
Yeah.
you failed the roll. Like
Yeah.
nothing else but you and the roll that you did and the stats that you chose and the armor that you have. I feel like it's got consequences, and that's one of the things I love about the player facing roles. I really like it. I would rather and you've talked about this before. People love rolling dice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
basically the players roll all the dice,
Yep.
so you just get to increase the amount of dice you roll. I
Yeah.
like it. I think for what it is and for why it works the way it does in Mörk Borg, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think from a GM's perspective, like I enjoy it because it alleviates me from doing it, and I can focus more on the story and the notes and just thinking about what the stat blocks and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if I have to sit there and roll and look at something else, it's just kind of I don't know. It's nice. It's freeing in a way, and I haven't played this around a table, so I'm sure it's even more so when you do that because you're physically not rolling dice like you would at a normal table. Clicking on a VTT is super easy, but I think that's what I like most about it because there's already enough to just kind of keep your mind, your focus on when you're running a game, and then adding, subtracting that element. I think makes it simple. So I
Yeah.
dig it.
So have you, yeah, you've DM'd 5e and stuff though, right?
Yeah, I've DM'd 5 for like my nephew and my daughter. I've DM'd second edition, third edition, Call of Cthulhu, fifth edition. So a lot of different things. So yeah,
So
I
how does
get
it compare?
it's crazy because it's I find it faster. I mean, again, I haven't played it around a table, so it's not a direct comparison, but I do remember like rolling and rolling and rolling as a DM, and I think one thing too is that and this is the DMs are different, but I feel like a lot of times DMs can fall into the trap of being adversarial, thinking they're against the players. And I think I've played with DMs that have been like that. They get on like these power trips and they enjoy it when the players are, dying or losing equipment or whatever it may be. And I don't feel like that's the spirit of what role playing games are. I feel like role playing are cooperative. Like all I know is when I run a game, I get excited when you guys succeed. I get excited when you guys come up with creative solutions. That's what I get out of it. And when you're rolling against somebody, I think it just inherently feels like you're against them, right? When
Yeah.
at least that's my philosophy. I don't think you should be. I think it should be cooperative. The DM or the GM or whatever name they call them, depending on the game. It should be like empowering the players and making sure they have a good time.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel the exact same way. So, like, especially in our evil campaign, it's different because I want it to feel evil and I want it to feel dangerous, and I want you guys to feel like you might risk death. And to be quite
Yeah,
honest, there's only been in 2 years maybe like 3 or 4 instances where it felt like death was inevitable or it could really, really happen. I feel
yeah.
like we had the cave.
The
I feel
zombie
like we
kid,
had,
yes.
yeah, the zombie cave, Sister
Alcava,
Alcava.
was
Yeah,
probably the best encounter I think of that and the cave so far of all the entire game, just because
yep,
everybody was dead except me.
yep.
That was,
It
and,
was
and
the
I don't
best
mean
because
I don't mean
everyone
because
died,
I
but not me.
lived. I just mean
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it showed the stakes. It was
yeah.
everyone. I remember we sat around a table way back when we were playing that, and just you could just the tension was insane because
Oh, the
everybody's
table
there.
makes
Yeah,
it makes
it
such a
was
difference.
good.
I really liked, though. I did also really like the the temple, like underneath in the Southlands, and
Oh
especially that
yeah,
final
yeah, that was
room that was
good.
defined
Yep,
by Source of Victory.
yep,
Two things changed that. The one, I think being around a table would have been way more fun.
yeah,
And two, Eric with that force cage just completely changed the complexity of the whole adventure. Because I'll tell you
yeah.
what, a lot of you guys went down and kept coming back up. but
Yeah.
like you went down, I think
I went
Jess
down
was definitely
quick,
down.
dude. Yeah, I went
Yeah,
down way
Andy
quick.
was down. But it to me it felt super dangerous, but I felt like Alcava felt more dangerous at the time, and I think it's because it was in person versus online. I feel
Could have
like if
been.
we
Yeah.
did the final boss that Circe wrote in person, the tension would have been ratcheted through the roof. Um, but those, I would say those three moments to me are three of my favorite moments, and they're also three of the moments where you guys were closest to death. But I got to be honest, like the cheeks start clenching a little bit when you get down to the last player or two because I love all of your characters and I love the story we're building together.
Right. That's another
And
thing.
but
Yeah.
I'll balance it so that hopefully you guys have like a 50-50 shot to come out of there. I'm not going to be adversarial. I'm going to run it as written, but I'm going to try to balance it where you guys aren't like
Yeah.
there's a way that you guys can win. And when Alcava, like I literally was like, because you wanted to just run, and this was way
Yeah. I
before
was.
your character story,
Yeah.
like kind of bonded more with the party. And I was like, no, so you can disengage as a bonus action, so you can hit one more time if you want, even if
Yeah.
you
If
miss,
you
it's
want
fine.
to, you were
And
totally.
she had
Yeah.
like 10 hit points left, and you're like, no, I'm gonna run, but you have a
Yeah.
bonus action, you can totally do it, and it worked.
Yeah.
So there are moments. I think the longer we do Mörk Borg, we're gonna have more moments like that. But there have been moments even in Mörk Borg, and like as a DM, for example, like the first time Jess that fell first, or was it Harga when we were in that courtyard with the child noises, and they were
Uh,
trying to fill the boob with water.
I think it might have been Harga. I don't remember
I
exactly.
can't
Yeah.
remember which one it was,
Yeah.
but the first time that they fell, when I was just like, fuck, this is our campaign, and there goes Harga. I wonder what Janelle's gonna do. And then there was a moment, those kind of moments where you're just like,
Yeah.
and even
Yeah.
in Afterbirth, when we knew we would die a bunch.
Yeah.
But the first time that we actually died, I was just like, oh man, like this is gonna keep happening. But this is my first, not my second Merkborg death, but my first on-stream
Yeah.
Merkborg death, and it's not Nephel, but it still kind of gets you a little bit. But then by your
Yeah.
15th death, you're just like, fuck it, I come out of the blood and I grab
Yeah.
whatever's around. I rip the
Yeah.
thing off. Let's fucking do this.
Yeah.
But Afterbirth were some great moments. Again, Rot Black Sludge, like we have those moments, like the I will never, ever, 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 on my deathbed, I'll be like, that fucking worm, like,
Yeah.
you know.
And
And so
I love
as
the end of Gorge too, is where you guys, normally you think the players are going to save the day and win and everyone's going to be fine. They literally said, fuck it, bailed. All of these villagers who were being fed to this guy were consumed by this beast that came out of the ground. And they're like, all right, we're leaving. And
Yep.
it kind of was, it was a great, it's, to me, it kind of threw me off, right? Because even in Merkborg, you always imagined that the players are going to come out on top, and then you got to remind yourself, no, this is a bleak world. They're not heroes. They're just like eking out a shitty life. And yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Well, I think Nephel even said at the end, he said something about like, we're not fucking heroes. If they want to
Yeah,
worship dirt, let them worship dirt. Let's go.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
remember being like, because I was right too. I was right with that lady. I 100%
You
knew it,
were.
and I
Oh,
failed
that
my
was a
roll.
great. That was so
100,
fucking
and I
great.
wanted to push her again, but I didn't. I should have
That
pushed her, and I
was,
should have blessed it. But as we were running out,
yeah,
like we found her husband or whatever. He's like a giant, like mutated, like
yeah,
disgusting beast
blob
thing.
man. Yeah,
I threw a rock at the door and was like, we'll just yell from the bottom, he's dead, and like roll out. She didn't answer. We're like, fuck it, let's go. Like I'm not like puking up sand again or something.
yeah,
And then yeah, literally like just complete subversion
yeah,
of the standard
yeah,
tabletop role playing game trope. We are not the heroes. It's just like we decided to check it out. We checked it out.
yep,
We got the thing that would help fix us.
yep.
Fuck it,
Yeah,
let's
I mean,
go.
I think too that it really, for me as a game master, that kind of opened my eyes a little bit to making it not about winning. I think when we play D&D, specifically 5e, because the characters are more heroic, they're like superheroes. Death is on the horizon potentially, but it's slim for the most part. That's the way the game's designed. And so
Yep.
you always inherently, and the bulk of what I've been playing is 5e, because I'm running Ryan's games, and you just kind of it gets embedded in your head. And then when you're faced with something else, like an alternative where it's like, oh, this is a living, breathing world. Not everything ends the way you think it might, or the way you think it should. And I think that was a really cool, freeing moment for myself as a game master, knowing like, oh shit, like that's a persistent thing that's just happening, and who knows what the repercussions of that's going to be, you know. So
Mm.
yeah, good times.
Yeah, I mean, especially compared to 5e, and we've talked about this before. Like 5e is designed for you to be demigods that will
Yeah,
eventually, like, if you run a campaign 1 to 20, your final arc is always going to be like defeat the gods and become a god or something. Like, and by level 5, you're more powerful than any human that's ever existed in the entire world. And by level 20, like a level 20 druid is literally basically an immortal god that can turn into anything they want.
yeah,
Um, and one thing I like about Mörk Borg is exactly what you said earlier about the bell curve of getting better. Like you're going to get a little bit better as we go, but guess what? The longer you go, you're going to start getting worse again too.
yeah,
And there's a peak to what you're going to be capable of, and there's always a fear of death because you're honestly a couple bad rolls and like a curse or like a crit fail on a defense away from dying, like way more so than in 5e. Like very rarely, especially once you hit at least fifth level. I think fifth level is where the game really becomes the game anyway. Um, very rarely is there anything that will one shot kill you the very first time you walk into the encounter. Of course, there's power word kill, but you have to be less than 100 hit points. And if you're high enough to be fighting a lich, you're going to be more than 100 hit points. So it's really disintegrate still. You have to be like 70 hit points or something like that. To really fear death, and you're this you're this is like this damage sponge that can just
yeah,
take combat and combat and combat. Where again, Mörk Borg, like when we battled the woman that came out of the grave,
yeah,
um
yeah. The Undertaker. Yeah.
she if our defense rolls weren't great, because I feel like she missed a bunch because we had great defense rolls, one or two of us miss one or two of those rolls, half the party's dead.
Yeah.
Easily half the
Yeah.
party's dead.
Yeah.
And what I'm really, really curious about, I do not think there's any way at all. I know we talked about the kind of like a little bit of the course of the potential of the campaign that we're running, and I'm not going to give anything away on stream about it. There's no way in hell all four of us make it to the end.
Yeah, I don't know. This next area you guys are going to, it's going to be pretty interesting, I think. So we'll
Well,
see.
what's going to be,
We'll see
well,
how
what
it
if we,
goes.
and the other thing is, what if we just party wipe? You know what I mean? Like,
I
there
don't
goes
know. I
the,
mean, I guess we party wipe. If it's TPK, we'll just have to decide on if you guys roll up new characters or if that's literally where your guys' story ends and that's it, you know?
yeah. And then, and you already ran the like, you died character funnel, so we can,
Oh yeah, right.
yeah,
I could run Afterbirth like as a real character funnel maybe. And then
there you go.
yeah.
Afterbirth was great.
I'd like to really just clean it up and put it with a Mörk Borg third party license at some point because there's
Yeah,
no
that'd be
funnel adventures. I think it would be
no,
cool
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
people to like, experience Mörk Borg and how deadly it is, but then also come out with the character who survived.
Well, about Afterbirth too, because that was basically just you, right?
Yeah, I wrote the
Like,
whole thing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Because what would you change about Afterbirth now? And for those that don't know what we're talking about, if you check out our VOD over on YouTube and stuff, it was a one shot that became, I think, a three shot. It was called
yeah,
Afterbirth, where it was basically this like just murder dungeon, and every time you died, we would just come back, and we had to work our way through it. But there was even a murder menu of things that the audience could purchase, like more monsters and more bad guys and stuff like
yeah.
that.
That's
If you were gonna clean it up and change it and make an adventure that's actually run without the audience participation and stuff like that, what would you do different with Afterbirth?
I think I would definitely well, obviously the main issue I think of Afterbirth was the players being able or the viewers to be able to purchase all those monsters because it started to bog it down really. And so I think what I would do is and I didn't tell you guys this, but I built the dungeon functionally, meaning there were all of these cultists and stuff, just outside in an outer area, right, with an exit and everything, where they were having all these caged monsters, and that's where they're being released. So I think I would probably have to play with the numbers of creatures that were released, probably put a cap on it,
Mm-hmm.
just because otherwise I could see it going really, really, really long. Um, but I had monsters put in certain areas and quantities, and then I just had the other aspect for the stream. But I think I don't know. It's one of those things we'd probably have to play test, I think, just to say, okay, well, here's sort of the list of monsters. And then also I think decide on, do you guys have a certain amount of players, right? Or is it literally you just keep creating characters until you win and that is the character you play going forward. And I think that's what I always loved about. I've never personally played a funnel adventure, but I've love the concept, because you're kind of these level zero, just pieces of shit. And then once you survive, you earn the right to become an adventurer, right?
Right.
And so that's always interested me. So I guess I don't know if it would be like, oh, it doesn't make sense where I'd cap your lives, because then if you lose, then you just don't get to play anymore, you know?
Right.
So I think the
I
monster
think,
balancing, the item balancing
yeah,
would be tricky. Yeah.
yeah. I think if I as a player having played it and stuff, if there were a couple changes that I would do, I wouldn't let monsters in the middle birthing room. I think
Oh yeah,
that
yeah. Because it's a like
that
a
really
pinch point. Yeah.
it ended up being like bottling everything down when you had a troll and like four blood zombies and stuff like that. But I think what would be interesting is if there was a mechanic where like someone dies and you roll, but the wandering monster aspect of it too was a little bit, I think, because everything converged in the middle. If you don't find the clues right away, you end up unable to get to those clues. I think what might be interesting is if they wander in an area. So like they stay at like the top of the hallway and maybe like go back and forth where you could like miss it, and maybe at the bottom of the hallway, and maybe one at like and have like one in a room and one in a room. So you could start with really no monsters or just like very few monsters in there. And then with the first death, like you roll, like maybe there's 10 rooms. There's now a monster in this room and monster in this room. And once all the rooms have a monster in them, maybe that's the end of like the monster calling, and maybe something happens like the blood drains out or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then you could go from there. But I think the biggest, I think the
The
thing that made it,
summoning is
yeah,
did it. Yeah. That
yeah. Well, I think even with the summoning, it might have been okay. I think the biggest like kind of like time thing went into the pinch point in the main birth room. I think if they were even like outside a little bit more, it would have been just a little easier, because I feel like we got to a point where we probably died a good like 4 or 5 times each just trying to get out of the room, and the way we had to go, we separated anyway, so we couldn't even do stuff. So it was
yeah.
super fun, but if I was going to change it, that's the thing that I would change.
Yeah, I think
But I
wandering
definitely
monsters
think,
is a good point. Yeah. And honestly, if you strip away that aspect, I mean, there is monsters. There's a couple in each hallway.
mhm,
There's two at the bottom. And I don't know if you noticed, maybe I talked to you afterward, but the entire dungeon is made was like a skeleton, like a person.
yeah. Yeah, well,
So
we did find that one lady hanging, and there were cultists behind it and stuff like that. So we found
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Um, but otherwise, I think it was an amazing adventure, especially once we finally got into that upward area, and I loved the uh the flayed men in those cages.
Oh yeah.
Super super like I love that. I got stuck. I think I got stuck in every single one of them. Um,
Yeah.
so that was super super clever. So yeah, I think it would be fantastic if you actually like cleaned it up and like did it and like released it, especially submitted it to like Mörk Borg, the Mörk Borg cult to actually
I
get put
wish.
into
You can't
like
do
the
that
thing.
anymore. Yeah.
They don't even allow that anymore.
They closed it off because they received so many submissions.
Yeah, I can
So
only
right
imagine.
now it's on
Yeah.
pause. However, the strange thing is though, is they haven't really been releasing a lot of stuff in terms of these third party adventures. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah.
Well, I wonder. Well, but the other thing too is like Johan Nohr is working on so many other projects now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's now it's a product villain success. I did you see Cyborg?
Yep. Yeah, that'll be a cool one.
Cyborg. Yeah, he's doing the art for Into the Odd and like all the rest of that stuff. So I'm curious what because I mean Johan Nohr, especially because he's an artist, is in my opinion I think much more forward facing as far as the game goes.
Yeah.
I'm curious what Pelle Nielsen is doing, if he's working on another game or if he just like dropped this and is doing his own thing or
I don't
what.
know.
Because I
But fun fact, this massive freelive game I have right here, um this is probably my favorite setting, I think, outside of Mörk Borg is Symbol Room.
oh,
The
I knew that's what
freelive
you were gonna
game.
pull out. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful art. And Johan Nohr was the graphic designer on this. So
Really? Is it
yeah.
his
So he
style of
started with
art or is it
freelive.
just the layout?
No, it's he did the layout. No, Martin Grip actually did the artwork itself, which is fucking crazy. I mean, it's beautiful shit.
Yeah.
You know,
I've
like
looked at Symbor. What's funny is before I ever knew Mörk Borg, before I ever knew anything, someone was like, "Hey, there's this really cool game Symborum you should check out." I'm like, "Yes, this is amazing," but I'm really into 5e right now. Um, but it's another one of those things. How many books does Symborum have if you get all of
oh,
it?
I have like, let's see, how many do I got? It looks like about 10, 8 to 10 books, but I guess I know this is kind of on a tangent, but what's interesting about Room is the core rule book. So it's the rule set, obviously, the setting, a little bit, some monsters in there, and obviously a starting adventure. But the way they designed it is they have this very long campaign, and every book they release gives you more of the world, right? So it's not like you have this massive block of here's a 500-page setting book. It's they're kind of creating it as the story unfolds, and they have this massive campaign arc, which is all plotted out, by the way. You can download like I think it's called the Crown of Thorns, which outlines the entire thing. And currently, I believe they have 5 or 6 books in that campaign
Mm.
series. So it's an interesting way. It's not the another thing too is that Free League uses the Year Zero system, which is a dice pool system. So Alien, Forbidden Lands, Vaesen, all those games use that. Room is a D20 system.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's a roll under though. It's not a roll over. So
Oh,
actually a
oh,
nat one is what you want. So it's kind of interesting, but it's player facing. It's damage soak for armor and stuff. It's awesome stuff. I'd love to at
yeah,
some point run it.
yeah.
But
I'd be. Oh my gosh, I'd be down.
yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
dark
like when I,
fantasy. It's good stuff.
dude, even just the art, I'm just like, when someone sent it to me before, they're like, "Hey, I saw the art on this. I think you'd love it." And I'm like, "Yes, yes."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you look at it, there's a Chronicle button. There's 4 books in this one. There's 4 books in this
Yeah.
one. There's like
I have
this
everything. Yeah. I got the whole
Symborum
thing.
Corinthia bundles got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books plus maps. I mean, I don't even know what 2498 Keck is or sect or
Okay,
whatever.
sec. I think it's under $300, but for all that.
Yeah, and that's great. And
Something
that's not
like
even
that.
all of it because there's VTT modules, there's the advanced player's
Yep.
guide. I mean, the Witch Hammer, like all this stuff. I mean, yeah, like this is going to be well. And the thing is, Forbidden Lands is the same thing.
Correct. Yeah. Forbidden Lands
Um,
is actually Free League's response to the OSR movement. That's what they coined it as. So they didn't have a quote unquote OSR game. So they made Forbidden Lands, and that's actually
yeah.
done quite well. So
Well, and then, but as far as the campaigns go, it's literally like you start from nowhere and then just explore, and every new like campaign area explores more. So I know the one that they just put
sandbox.
out, yeah,
Yeah.
they literally have like this area was closed off before, now it's open. Here's a whole new area for you to explore.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
it's a sandbox game where it's a hex crawl. So if anyone's not familiar with that, it's sort of like a map with a hex on it, and then every hex has sort of an adventure site or some kind of encounter. We may or may not be doing a hex crawl next Mörk Borg session. There's a spoiler. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, it's cool. And there's another little cool feature too where you get these stickers. It's kind of like Gloomhaven, where when a player dies, you can put a sticker on the map, so they're kind of
Oh,
persistently there, their
that's
dead
awesome.
body or their grave or whatever it is. You can get strongholds too. So yeah, it's basically like they wanted to create an OSR game because it was so popular, and that's Forbidden Lands. So
I know that this one is really popular too. The Vaesen, Vaesen.
I have that. Yeah, I have the special
Yeah,
edition. I got the Kickstarter. It's a really
yeah.
really cool. It's kind of like Victorian. It's sort of, I feel like it's almost
Victorian
like
Nordic
Call of
or something like
Cthulhu
that. Yeah,
mixed with like Hellboy or something, where
yeah.
it's sort of like turn of the century
Oh,
Sweden. I think you can change the setting to whatever you want, like Britain or
oh,
America or somewhere like that, and you're hunting monsters, so it's like all folklore based.
yeah.
So
Not
it's a really
not
cool
quite
one too.
my thing. Um, I feel like my next I you know me, I don't like guns and tech in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
worlds
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff. So,
yeah.
but I feel like my next big batch of purchases is gonna end up being Symborum. Like, and I feel like
Yeah,
after that,
it's
I'm pretty solid on Free League. I can actually start playing the games that I'm buying, but I have a feeling that Symborum, I'm gonna have to go through find out exactly what all of it is. If this bundle is literally everything,
that is everything. The
um,
bundle's everything. Yeah.
yeah. So then I'll end up trying to see how much sec this is, and maybe pick up an extra shift and snag that. Um, but Mörk Borg as a GM, is there anything else you want to say about like running the
Um,
game?
Running the game, I feel like the rule set is it just makes your life a lot easier. So if you're kind of feeling bogged down with whatever it is you're running, you might want to look into the OSR. I mean, maybe if it's not Merkborg, maybe it's like Knave or something like Forbidden Lands, or what are some other, or old school essentials even. It's a different, it's almost like a breath of fresh air. I think that's the best way I know that's fucking cliche, but
Mhm.
it really was like, you're like, wow, this is easy. I don't need to spend like a month studying the rules and memorizing everything, and
Yeah.
you just kind of like get it. It's a simple rule set. So,
Well,
and for
even
me,
even
like
5e prep,
yeah, what was that? How does
even like 5e prep, the amount of prep to run the 5e game that we run now is
yeah,
it's crazy, and I can only imagine Mörk Borg. I know that I mean, if it was just setting up the game, if it wasn't all like the gorgeous
the
maps you
maps
make and
and
like the
shit, yeah,
layouts and
that's what
everything
takes
too,
me
but
the
if you had
time.
all
Yeah.
that, like, but if it's just like setting the game, do you feel like it actually takes a long time to prep the
No,
rule
not
set
at
in the
all,
games itself?
because
Yeah.
the stat blocks are so tiny. They're so
Mm,
simplistic, and you can just kind of make stuff up on the fly because the way the rule set is designed. It's not a lot of, oh well shit. How, what about this ability? It's like, that'll be like a D6, or I'll make the DR this, or whatever. It's super easy because that the system is so open, I think. And for me, I understand. I know Sursa is much more of a rules as written guy. I know he kind of chimed in on our little back and forth in terms of like, he believes that design, you need to adhere to design. It's there for a reason. If you start breaking it, it just kind of falls apart.
mhm.
I feel like I'm more of a narrative player. So I'm
Yeah,
more into
same.
the story and all that stuff. And so rule sets for me are sort of like secondary to the experience from a narrative standpoint. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Like if you're someone like Sursa, I feel like he's more into the actual design. He's obsessed with the design, and he's really knowledgeable with that. And so he really respects that part of games. Whereas
Mhm.
me, like I enjoy that, but I'm not a game designer. So I'm more into storytelling, and so that's really my focus. So for
Yeah.
that kind of playing, highly recommend it.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm trying to get both sides of that. Like I'm definitely more of a narrative player, but as I learn more games and as I talk with Sursa more and
Yeah,
learn more about game design and stuff too, it's really interesting to try to understand that concept of like game design is game design, and then try to kind of pull it a little bit towards narrative, which is what I
yeah,
really want to do. So trying to thread that needle has been really interesting and really fun
yeah,
to mess around with. And I really want to find more tabletop role playing games, and hopefully find another Mörk Borg. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, man, as soon as I started cracking this book and reading through it, it just spoke to me. You know, so check out Mörk
yeah.
Borg.
Check it out.
Look on Amazon. Like I said, it's only $25, and you get a ton of free content. Um, and I think that's the first episode of the weekly scroll. It is just a little bit after 11:30. Thank you so much for being here, Jason.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it. It was great to
thanks for
go
having
through the
me.
book with someone who knows the book way more than I do, and I've read it a bunch. Um, I think the plan next week is Troika, and potentially I was thinking either Troika or Knave. Knave is much smaller,
Hmm.
so it's one of those two. So we'll do Troika or Knave next week. And I think as of right now, the plan is to also bring Jess on, who plays Daryana in a Dark Kingdoms campaign. She recently GM'd her first game ever, which was wildly successful. It was called Cheese. So much fun, super well written, a really, really great time. So I want to bring her on and just kind of talk about the fact that most of her tabletop role playing game experience is as a player and what it was like GMing her first game, and just prepping a game and making overlays and doing all the stuff that like you, me, and Andy do for all of our games, and
Hmm.
just how it felt and what happened with that. So if that's still a thing, then we'll bring her on for next week. If that doesn't happen, we'll do Troika, and I might start Dark Fort. Um,
Yeah, solo game.
and
That'd be cool.
and do a solo game, because the plan with this stream, with this podcast, is to do a number of different segments, just whatever is prepped for the week. Do like the news slash kickstart the stream like each week, just back this came in, stuff like that. Maybe like, hey, kickstart the stream, we got nothing, I didn't back anything, I didn't waste any money, nothing came in.
Yeah, right.
And then
That's
move
never
on to
gonna
something
happen.
else. I'm fully
Yeah,
aware. I'm fully
yeah.
aware. But want to have a lot of guests on. Want to do some solo adventures. I think it'd be really fun to do some duo adventures where maybe like, if it's an adventure that's like a one shot that would take 3 hours, we would just do 1 hour each week for 3 weeks with somebody. or I've been backing a lot of like solo journaling style adventures. It'd be cool to like, get into something like The Wretched or
Yeah.
something and run that for an hour. So it's gonna be very interesting, like wide variety of tabletop content. Hopefully it takes off. Hopefully we keep doing it. And we'll see what happens. So
Cool, cool. Well,
I gotta get a sign
I'm always
off.
around if you want to just talk
Yeah.
about games. So if you ever need a guest and don't have one, I'm totally
Well,
up
yeah. I
for
mean,
it.
we could always set this up. We'll get a new overlay and a new logo and all that stuff at some point too.
Yeah.
As this gets a little bit more, and again, we'll figure out how to actually turn it into a podcast and how to like edit out like the breaks and like when the stream crashed and everything. And get that up and running at some point. But yeah, Andy, I can't wait to have you on as well, and L2 you as well. So yeah, really excited to have a lot of members from our community, and maybe reach out to members of other communities to see if they want to come on as well and just chat about games and streaming and all the aspects of it. So again, Jason, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, and I think we're just gonna wrap. I have no credits.
No classic
So
creds
let
for L2. Sorry,
no
L2.
classic creds for L2. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Do we have friends on? Is Jesse? Yeah, so we're gonna raid Jables. We're gonna raid. Um. So we'll see you all next week. Again, start with Kickstart the stream. We'll probably do Troika, and we'll have Jess on to discuss cheese. So everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Andy L2, everybody this year. So have a good one. I'll see you later if I can find my ending screen.